Hello again, everybody. You're listening to the Total Basis Podcast. I'm your host, Felipe, and with me is my co-host for the evening, Alex Robertson. Alex, how you doing this evening?
Doing good, pretty Felipe. Just real excited to get this episode in. I know we've talked about it for a little bit and really excited to get it on the road.
Yeah, man. Thank you for volunteering. I know it's I don't know. We're gonna do our annual minor league show. We're gonna focus on minor league hitters. Not necessarily, we're not trying to, call out any popular name on lists. But I mean, the way I did it, Alex, is that I just went on Fangraphs and you know filter the crap out of the minor league leaderboards, and whatever name popped up that looked interesting to me, along with the statistics, that's who I came up with, and that's how I've been doing it the last couple of years. Because either way, you're screwed. Either you do it where you look at the stats and see who's actually been performing well, or you just blindly select players from the prospects list. Either way, you get
Hmm.
the same result, I think. But I think just because I know that you weren't, it was kind of a last minute ask for me to tell you, hey, you want to join me on the podcast and talk some prospects? I think I told you to just select
Yeah.
one player in the top 25, one in the top 50, one in the top 75, and then to finish the show, one in the top 100. Did you have
Mhm.
any issues looking for these prospects, or would you want to explain how you came about
Um,
picking your
no, I didn't have
prospects?
really any issues other than I initially went with one that I forgot was already called up. But
Yeah, yeah.
with what was it? Jordan Beck. Yeah, I
Yeah, Jordan Beck.
for some reason I guess I'm like the rest of America and forget that the Colorado Rockies exist. Because I had no idea that he got called up until
Yeah.
he said something about it. But now just I know like a one of them is an Orioles prospect, so that's kind of just like I picked a homer because I knew a little bit more about him and things like that. And one of them at the near the end, what I noticed his numbers have been kind of falling a little bit, but I still picked them because there's something interesting about the way his um advanced metrics are showing that he's still being somewhat productive, even though his base numbers have been declining the farther up in the system he's been going. So
Hmm.
I didn't have really any issues. Just thought it was were interesting grabs to go for.
All right. And well, it's not a total basis podcast without the spreadsheet. Here it is, in all its glory. We're going with let me know if you can see it. But we're gonna go with Baltimore Orioles orange and black colors because of you being the guest on tonight's show.
Mhm.
So I appreciate that. And here's my way of saying thank you. You get your colors. I blacked out the names so it could be a little bit of a surprise. Although if using context clues, I think you guys who are watching on YouTube are able to see the spreadsheet as I share my computer screen with the whole world. And right off the bat is this guy named Andre Lipschitz, Dodgers player. He's age 26, currently in AAA. Now you'll see here, Alex. This is something I'm doing for this season. Is I'm trying to give the quote unquote older guys a chance. Usually, if I see a guy in AAA who's like 26, 27 years old, like, man, get this old guy out of me. I'm not interested. Used up. I don't want this. It's like to me, prospects are like automobiles. Once you purchase a car off the lot and you drive away with it, the value of that car goes precipitously down. Same thing with prospects. Once they get called up, uh, and if they don't do well right off the bat, their trade value goes really down. Unless you're
Mhm.
Jackson Holiday. I mean, I think if the Orioles were to put Jackson Holiday on the block, I think I think they would be okay in getting fair
They'd be able to
value.
get a huge return.
Yeah. Now, if it's a guy like, oh, I don't know, what's a good example? Shoot, I can't think of anybody right now, but you know what I mean. I mean, so once these prospects get called up and they get exposed, that's it, man. You're not gonna get anything for them. You're not gonna get the same value that you thought you were gonna get. Uh, when they were still in the minor leagues and lighting things up in the minors. Once they get exposed to major league pitching or they get exposed to major league hitting, um, it's a point
Hmm.
of no return for some of these prospects. Would you agree with that sentiment, or you do you see things
Yeah,
differently?
I think for the most part that's very true. Certain guys, I feel like they can still have fairly decent value after they've been exposed and maybe faltered a little bit. As long as when they go back down, they really show that they're like they what's the phrasing that I'm thinking of?
That they are able
Like
to bounce back, to rebound? Is
yeah,
that what you're
yeah,
talking?
yeah. They rebound as soon as they get like sent back down to AAA, and they have like that like half season or like one season uh, down back in the minors, and they show that they're hitting the cover off the balls. Then you're like, okay, they need to transition better against the better pitching, not so much that they're like they can't be a good player.
Hmm. Because they can
But
all be good players.
I
Sorry, go
mean,
ahead. Go ahead.
no, but I do agree with what you were saying for the most part. Like that, anytime a player, like especially someone who's not necessarily a huge name prospect, but they kind of work their way up through the system, did the grind and then get exposed to big leagues and they don't really show much. Yeah, they're probably gonna struggle to prove to their team, the other teams, that they have the values that they could go be put on the market for, like a package deal or something, and um, get something good in return.
Right.
Is at that point, it's kind of like, oh, well, I don't really know what to expect out of
Yeah, yeah, and it does become a tricky thing to balance, and but obviously once you hit a certain age, your value is on. I mean, this guy Andre, I think his name is Andre Lipschitz, and that's the first player we're talking about here. He
you.
was a former Tigers prospect, as you can see. When I have like the rankings and the grade prospect, the prospect grades in red, that means it's an old report.
Hmm.
And this one's from 2023. They didn't even bother. Fangraphs didn't bother updating him for 2024 because, as far as they can tell,
Hmm.
well, he was already called up last year by the Tigers. Did not do very well. He was already a fringe prospect, so there's no need to update
Yeah.
his prospect grades for this upcoming season. He's probably not gonna. I mean, at the age of 25, 26 years old, coming in with the Dodgers, and as you know, the Dodgers are loaded in the minors as well. So pretty much an afterthought.
Probably not gonna get called up,
Well, this is why I brought him up though.
or he might, but we know that they're so loaded that yeah, they're probably not gonna need
Well,
extra.
here's my
Well,
case. Here's the argument I have for Andre Lipschitz. He's playing all over the infield. Last I checked, so that's why I put down utility player. I like to usually just put down like a primary position. This year I'm trying something
mhm,
different. I'm looking at the where they have played, especially in 2024, and he's all over the infield. So that's a step in the right
mhm.
direction everywhere. But I don't think he's played short. I don't see him at shortstop, but second base, third base. Uh, yeah, second base and third base mostly, and some first base as well. So the Dodgers, they love those kind of like Swiss Army knife players in the mold of Chris Taylor, right?
I was about to mention his name. Chris
Exactly.
Taylor's like the prototype for
Yeah.
that kind of guy, but he actually is like is even if he just played like left field, you'd be like, all right, I should be okay with that.
Right, right. Well, I think Andre Lipschitz might be the next wave of that. If anything, he might get traded because he's having a pretty good season, but he's only 6'1", 190 pound. So he doesn't nothing like screams at you when you look at his numbers,
Hmm.
his vitals. He was the Tigers' 30th best prospect last year. Uh, he was supposed to be called up last year, which he was, but he, like I said, he did not do very well. I mean, he had a what was it? Actually, he did pretty well. That's so weird. Oh, that is so weird. I guess defensively, maybe you could say that he didn't do too well. But yeah, I remember when I saw the numbers, like, oh well, no wonder the Tigers gave up on him. But listen to this, he was able to control his strikeouts. The ISO power wasn't there, but this guy's the way I see, he's more of a contact guy.
Mhm.
I don't think he's ever shown an ability to show much consistent power, or at least big time power in the minors, just enough to get by. But yeah, he had a 342 on base percentage with the Tigers and a 400 slugging percentage as well, which that's pretty damn good for a rookie. And he only played 13 games, but the Tigers, like, they gave up on him. They designated him for assignment, and the Dodgers came, hey, we'll take him if you don't want him. So that's a weird one. I could have
Who
sworn
did
that his numbers were pretty bad. Go ahead.
I was I'm questioning who did the Tigers put on their roster in place of him?
So I don't know, man. I mean, I guess I can look it up and see. I was able to look up um what happened to Andre. I think he got traded to the Dodgers because he was designated for assignment. Uh, but I guess he got traded to the Dodgers for cash considerations.
That
And,
it actually makes sense because teams will do that sometimes if they know, um, like when they DFA a guy that during that like what is it like a week period that they have
yeah,
for other teams to pick the guy that if they know that someone's like not going to pick him up or something, they're like, all right, let's go ahead and trade you and get something out of it. Because I think I can't remember who it was, but like within the last year, the Orioles did something like that with someone they put on waivers. They're like,
okay,
all right, let's go ahead and trade you
I got it.
instead.
I found the name. Here we go. This is back in February, looks like 2024. The Detroit Tigers have designated infielder Andre Lipschitz for assignment in order to clear a 40-man roster spot for fellow infielder Buddy Kennedy, who the club claimed off waivers from the St. Louis Cardinals on Thursday afternoon. The 25-year-old made his big league debut in the 2023 season, appearing in 13 games. Okay, we just told you that. 286 batting average, 742 ops. It is a small sample size, but it's a pretty darn good sample size. I mean, it's for a rookie to post those numbers, that's pretty good. However, his work at
That's
Triple,
2 weeks worth of numbers.
yeah. Listen to this though. However, his work at AAA didn't impress much as he hit 272 with 11 home runs and a 82 ops in 97 games. Yeah, I mean that's underwhelming, but he's holding
It's
his
not.
own. He's holding his
It's
own.
not. It's not objectively bad either. So I'm questioning what were they wanting out of him.
Well, here's some context for you. These are underwhelming production numbers for a 25-year-old in the hitter-friendly International League.
Uh,
However, he does have a solid track record in the minors, a factor that could land him with another club in short order, which they did with the Dodgers. But even the Dodgers designated him for assignment there, so they can make room for Daniel Hudson, I saw. But they were able to reclaim him back and send him back
mhm,
down to the minors. But the AAA last year in 2023, he did hit 11 home runs. I mean, like I said, he's never been someone that has shown a lot of pop. I do like I'm only and I have to use the word like I'm envisioning and I think when I see him like because we don't have the plate discipline numbers for minor leagues. We only have it for major leagues for
mhm,
Fangraphs, and I've looked to see what like the contact rates and the swinging tendencies are in minor league numbers, but I can't find those anywhere. So if anybody listening can steer us to the in the right direction as to where I can find these magical numbers, please let me know. But I envision a guy who puts the ball in play. He has a very good plate discipline. He knows how to take a walk. He
mhm,
can limit his strikeouts. Yes, the pop is missing. Uh, but he knows how to get on base. That there's and he plays all over the infield. So I mean, to me, there is some use for him, like on the back end of
mhm.
a Major League Baseball bench, like for the LA Dodgers, which, by the way, according to SB Nation's True Blue LA blog, here's a headline for you. Andre Lipschitz is knocking on the door. Dodgers fans should learn the name of Andre Lipschitz because he has been on a tear at AAA Oklahoma City. So, yeah, you might be seeing him get called up pretty soon because a guy who's producing the way he's producing right now, it's kind of hard to ignore. He so far he's hit 17 home runs. That's a huge. clearly a career high. 17 home runs and has pitched in 17 stolen bases. So, but anyway, here's the rest of it. Here's a yeah, and the hit tool is also an indicator that the guy has good contact skills. But as you can see, the power is low. Game power is 30 out of
Mhm.
40. It could be more. It could maybe this is the 50-50 that they were talking about with the raw power here. 17 home
Mhm.
run type of power and 59 games with the AAA affiliate for the Dodgers. Not much speed, but like I said, he already has 6 stolen bases. He has stolen 13 stolen bases at one point of his career back in 2022 between two levels, but only a 35 plus future value. So yeah, like fringe starter,
Mhm.
definitely bench player who can come in. But yeah, so there's his numbers: 358 WOBA and WRC plus of 140, making basically saying he's 40% better than league average in AAA right now.
Mhm.
Here's what I wrote about him. He showed minimal pop and stolen base potential with Tigers. Minimal is the key word. So there was signs, but not a lot. But he's
Mhm.
having a career year with the Dodgers now. Is it fluky though? That's what I'm asking. I think he has a great batting eye with good contact skills. He's a future Major League Baseball utility player. Felipe, why are you talking about a future Major League utility player? I mean, is this for fantasy purposes? Is this for real life purposes? Alex, is it wrong for me to just kind of shed the light on a guy who worked his
It,
ass off
it
and
could be purposes for both, man.
absolutely.
It could be. Hey, we know you like like these like certain types of players, like not necessarily him, like his type of like just you like certain types of players in fantasy, and he may fit what you may be looking for, next year or later this season. Who knows?
I mean, because
But
I'm trying
yeah.
to be better, Alice. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt to these post-hype prospects, or these older prospects, age 26, age 27. If you're over 24, I'm not
Mhm.
looking at you in terms of a prospect, in which some people
Yeah.
would say, well, that's stupid of you to do, or some people would say otherwise. I don't know. But I've been accused of being, excuse me, I've been too critical of 25, 26, 27-year-old prospects. I'm trying to be different this year, Alice. I'm trying to be open to these
Mhm.
new age things. And when I saw
Yeah.
Andre Lipschitz, he has to, like you said, I like the plate discipline. I love players with good plate discipline. Um,
Mhm.
Obviously, you sacrifice a little bit of something when you only focus on plate discipline,
You
but that's
sacrifice a little bit of pop
a little bit of
because
pop, yeah, and production in general, right?
mhm,
But the guy could take a walk. He can limit strikeouts in a world where strikeouts are a norm now for hitters. It's cool to see a guy, limit his strikeouts and still hit for a lot of power. Career high 297 isolated power for the guy. So it's a good story. And like I said, I could definitely see the Dodgers call him up later in the year,
mhm,
and he gets some spot starts here and there, and maybe even usurp someone from the starting role in Los Angeles as they make a playoff push. I'm loading up the Dodgers roster resource. I'm gonna share that with you guys. And let's play a game here, Alex, just you and me. And for those listening at home, here we go. So it's loading, it's loading. Oh my God, here we go. It's all right, here we go. Sorry about that. Let's zoom in for the kids out there. So there's a starting lineup. Actually, there's your bench as well. Yeah. I was gonna actually was thinking of maybe mentioning Miguel Vargas, but we all know who Vargas is. All right, so he's not replacing Mookie Betts, not Shohei, not Freddie Freeman, not Will Smith, maybe Teoscar Hernandez. So I just saw a headline earlier saying that Teoscar Hernandez, I don't want to get traded. I don't want to keep beating rumors. So maybe they'll keep him around. Jason
Is that
Hayward.
why he started hitting a ton of home runs over the weekend?
Yeah, that typical Teoscar Hernandez. He's so streaky, but people love him for that. As you can see, the last 7 days, he's the second best player. As you see that right here, the second best
Yeah.
player right there. That highlighted number two over the last 7 days, according to roster resource here. Jason Hayward, I know Jason Hayward's defense is the bee's knees still, but I could definitely see this Lipschitz guy take that corner outfield spot and run with it, especially if Hayward's going to be sitting down against left-handed bats or left-handed pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Paquez, I guess you need a center fielder. Lipschitz does not play center field. How I don't even know what Gavin Lux is doing, but again, he's in a platoon situation with Chris Taylor. I could definitely see Lipschitz overtaking either Lux or Taylor or even Kike Hernandez, these guys are just a who's who of bench players here. Why not go? I can definitely envision this
Yeah.
Lipschitz guy taking over for one of those
Okay.
guys.
Yeah, I can see that now. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like other than the like main guys, you're kind of just like, wait, like how are the Dodgers still winning with these guys?
Yeah, it's amazing. This is the most top heavy they've looked. This is the least amount of depth they've ever had in a long time. But you know what? The guys who are there, they know their roles. I mean, Chris Taylor is a utility infielder in the mold of like an Andre Lipschitz, like the way I'm trying to hype him up. Except that Chris Taylor is doing really bad in the majors right now. He's doing nothing for you right now. Uh, and he's 34 years old. I know that veteran experience means a lot to this Dodgers team, but you can't have
Can't mean too much if you're not producing.
and not only that, but you got a Miguel Rojas. I mean, I know he could probably play a mean shortstop, but he could play all over the infield as well. He's producing. But and you already have a Kike Hernandez who's barely doing nothing as well, but at least he's doing a little,
Mhm.
he's producing a little bit more. Gavin Lux is a bust. Why not go with Lipschitz? That's all I'm saying. So that's why
Yeah,
aside from, it's a nice story. Okay, Felipe giving handing a bone to a guy who he normally doesn't hand a bone to. Uh, there might be a there might be a possibility that Lipschitz might come in and just get into a hot streak and he'll be a known
I
commodity
mean
come
he
playoff
can't
time.
be worse than these bench players have already been. He he can't produce any less,
Right. And
I
you
guess.
ask how they're winning. I mean, they got Tyler Glass now. Walker Bueller is back, but he's a work in progress. And now as he comes back from elbow injury, Yamamoto has been pretty good. Gavin
Mhm.
Stone has been pretty good. So their pitching is top notch as always. Here's their bullpen. This is what's going to carry them for the rest of the year. It's a pretty damn good bullpen. Um, yeah, just Max Muncy is injured again. So there's a guy who might take a bat at bats away from a guy like Andre Lipschitz, but still. And like I always tell people, man, the amount of pitchers, especially out of the rotation, that are currently injured for the LA Dodgers would look
This is them like
wonderful if
every
they're
year.
yeah, but it's a who's who of like if this was any other team and if these guys are all healthy, it's
Yeah,
one of the best rotations in all of baseball. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I was about to say like that. You'd be like, this team's gonna win the World Series like every year with
Hmm.
the way that they have their uh their injury rotation every single year. Just like man, like like almost every other team would just be like I don't know, they would be like like on their knees like thanking God that they were able to have this as a rotation.
Yeah,
But yet the Dodgers always have two different rotations, one that's actually out there and one that's constantly hurt. And it's like the talent level is not really any different between the two.
that's constantly hurt. You mean Kyle Hurt, the 104th best prospect according to Fangraphs? Anyway, that cheap joke right there. The bullpen, we just marvel at their bullpen. Look at their bullpen now. Ryan Brazier, Connor Brogdon, Bruce Dahl, Gratterall, Joe Kelly. I mean, these are imagine if they were healthy in their bullpen. It wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair, is what I'm
No,
saying. So that's the Dodgers.
that's
And
crazy.
anyway, that's Andre Lipschitz. Again, normally I don't recommend these older prospects, but I figured he's crushing it at AAA right now. He was too good to not mention. So check him out. Stash him away if you're in fantasy leagues with confidence. Let's move on to the next guy. Oh, you're not impressed with the Andre Lipschitz guy? Well, here's James Woods. I'm gonna do the first two players for me, and then I'm gonna go to your Orioles player down there, just so you know. But James Woods, he's also crushing it. And unlike the other guy I have at AAA, uh, I did account for batting average on balls in play, which is something else people have accused me. Felipe, you just take whoever is at the top of the leaderboard and you don't account for anything. Like, yeah, I do. I I just think batting average on balls in play, especially in the minors, I think everybody has a high BABIP if they're doing very good in the minors. So why should I account for that? But this year I'm trying something different. And I did account for BABIP, the batting average of balls in play. So basically anything between 270 and 370, they would be on this list. Oh my God, 370, that's still high. Yeah, but there were other players that were much higher. I saw some 400 BABIP, some 500 BABIPs from
Mhm.
regular players. So I think I can get away with a 370 batting average on balls in play. James Woods, outfielder, big guy, 6'7", 234-pounder, lefty bat. I think he's my only left-handed bat on this list, which is in contrast to what Alex was doing. And every one of his hitters is a left-handed hitter. So we're gonna get to that in a little
Hey
bit.
man, I'm sorry. I I'm a left-handed hitter.
That explains it. Like with Sean and I, when we used to do these all the time, Alex, we used to like just look at each other. Yeah, you have a type, don't you? And like, no, you have a type. You have a type. And it turns out we all have a type.
Yeah,
So we'll get
yeah.
to that in just a bit. He is the
But
James Wood. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's crazy by how I mentioned to you. Was it yesterday that I almost went with this guy, but
Oh,
then I
James Woods.
decided not to because I thought you were gonna pick him, and then you ended up picking.
I did. I would have told you how to pick someone else,
I
buddy.
was just like, so I was like, yeah, I'm probably just not gonna go with him. I'll find someone else in the top 25.
James Woods is now old enough to drink. Uh yeah, as of September of this past year. He's now old enough to drink. He's only 21 years old out of AAA. And as you can see, I for this one I was looking for players 23 years and younger. So here's me
Mm.
being an ageist. Again, the third best according to Fangraphs, he's the third best prospect. That makes me wonder who the other guys would be. I didn't even think about that. I would think that this guy would be the number one prospect.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you know
know
what?
preseason
Oh, I'm an
preseason
idiot.
for Baseball America, he was like fourth or fifth, I think.
Never mind. He's number
What
one for
is
the
it?
Nationals. Number three, Fangraphs overall. I think I might have typed in three twice there. So he's the number one prospect for the Nationals. Number three overall according to Fangraphs. He is supposed to have an estimated time of arrival in 2025. I think, I honestly think
Oh
he can
yeah,
get called up later this year. If I'm surprised he hasn't been
yeah.
called up because he has nothing left to prove. Go ahead.
I was about to say that same thing. I'm like, it I'm surprised that they haven't called him up. Like this is a weird year for the Nationals because they're not like if you look at some of their signings that they've had, you're like, okay, like they've kind of picked like a mixed bag of different players that you wouldn't really know how they would necessarily, group together as a team, but they haven't been that bad. Like they're still kind of just hanging around.
Yeah, because they have
And
a good mix of veteran players, and there's oh well, the Nationals are rebuilding. What rebuild? I mean, it's a CJ Abrams and a bunch of veterans in their 30s. Oh, okay, I guess
yeah,
Luis Garcia, who's a post-hype prospect. I mean, he's a prospect that has not lived up to any expectations.
yeah,
Kyber Reeves is a catcher. Enough said. um, who's that? Jacob Young is 25. Is he considered a prospect?
him and I think what's San Diego picked him up or something. So
Uh,
that's a roster spot that on a team that's actually not doing that bad right now. Like I'm actually pleasantly surprised that they're doing a little bit better than I thought they would at this point.
yeah, I
Why
don't.
not? Why not James Woods? Maybe not like right now, but like by the All Star break. Why not? He's your top prospect. He's basically proven everything that he can do, and you're like you you can't go wrong with pulling him up for at least this a little bit of the season.
Yeah, because if you're the Nationals, right? I know that as you can see right here, Alex, he has a very bad hit tool, however, but his game is power, power, power. He
Mm.
has improving speed as well. 65 future value, 464 WOBA, 175 WRC plus. Um, I mean, these are really good numbers. He's 75% better than league average in AAA. And improving his strikeout rate. The
Mm-hmm.
walks are there. So the guy, I don't, he's stealing bases. He's hitting for the same amount of power. He's lighting up AAA. He's 21 years old, doing this as a 21-year-old in AAA, mind you. And
Mm-hmm.
the question does come up, like, what else does he have to do to prove himself? What else are the Nationals looking for? And what the hell are the Nationals playing for? They got a bunch of average, adequate veterans up and down their lineup and even their pitching rotation with Patrick Corbin and Jake Irvin. Is Mitchell Parker really a prospect for them? He's listed number 9, but he's already knocking on the door of 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Mackenzie Gore is finally starting to what do
Come
you call
together
it?
a little bit.
Putting it together. I picked him up in my points league just because that's how good he's been
Uh,
doing. Go ahead.
I was gonna I was gonna say they have Josiah Gray, but I can't I haven't really heard much about him because I don't know
He's injured.
if he's just not. Yeah, so I was about to ask if he was hurt
As
because I
of
was gonna say
April 4th, he has a strained elbow and a forearm flexor injury. So yeah,
hmm,
uh, so
so he's gonna
yeah,
be down the whole season. Okay,
and
makes sense.
yeah, he's
But with the Nationals, with their hitters, you're kind of like, okay, if they're gonna question James Wood hit tool, you have Joey Gallo.
uh-huh. That's exactly what I was gonna say. Yeah.
You have Joey Gallo, who is notorious for being good defensively, hitting for a lot of power, but never being able to hit anything but home runs.
Yeah. And
Like,
James Woods already. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like if if you're going with Gallo and anyone that's kind of along that type, even if James Woods' batting average is not that good when you call him up, I don't think he can get any worse than Gallo.
The only issue there might be here is that he is hitting 51% ground ball rates, which is surprisingly high. But then, you think about 21-year-old prospect, James Wood, a big guy like him, who has proven that he can hit with consistent power everywhere that he's ever been to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if this is something that the Nationals are working with him to hit more line drives because he's posting, not including what he did at the complex leagues, but right now he's posting a career professional baseball high for himself, a personal career high of a 29.5% line drive rate. So I'm wondering if they're making him hit more balls, like instead of trying to hit for home runs, if they just want him to spray the ball all over the field. He's always shown, despite the fact that he hits for a lot of power, he's always shown an ability to spray the ball all over the place. So that to me
Mm-hmm.
tells me that the hit tool grade might be low, but this guy knows how to hit. And I'm wondering if the Nationals are asking him to hit more ground balls just to show that he could do that he has enough what do they call bat control because he's
Mm-hmm.
posting a career low again, not including the complex leagues, but he's posting a career low fly ball rate of 19.4%. This profile almost matches that of a slappy, speedy hitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
But he's a big dude that can crush the ball.
yeah, and he's still
So
crushing
it's
the
kind
ball
of weird.
despite the fact that he's hitting more
Yeah,
ground balls, despite the fact that he's spraying the ball not just to the pull side but to the opposite side as well. I mean,
yeah,
and he's the fact that he's producing still, even though it to me this looks like he's experimenting. That the Nationals wanted to
yeah,
experiment.
yeah.
And again, I don't have all the data in for I don't have any contact rates. I don't have any swinging tendencies. I
Yeah.
can only envision what the raw numbers tell me, and that's what I see out of this guy.
Mhm.
And he's also
I would only be. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna finish
I
up and
was,
saying that he is also what do you call it? Improving his strikeout rate as well. Go ahead.
mhm. I was gonna say the with his you said his ground ball rate was
51%. 51.2%. Yeah.
51.2. I would only be, and I'm gonna assume that like you said that they're just kind of experimenting with his like hit tool and stuff like that. Um, I would I would assume that they would like to see him hit more line drives too, but I would only be concerned with even the experimental 51% ground ball rate. if this was before the shift got banned and he was,
Mm,
pulling the ball a lot, because then that would be more of a like,
a red flag.
yeah, it'd be a red flag. Not only because obviously you're hitting too much to first base, short, right field, but it could also show like, well, you're not letting the ball travel enough. You're you know you got your swing looped around to try to hold the ball, and stuff like that. Yeah, I can only assume that they're just trying to experiment with this.
To finish up James Wood, the rest of the notes goes as follow. He's a huge guy, immense power potential. I mean, he has most one of the most violent yet prettiest swings I've ever seen out of a prospect of his caliber. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's like it's almost symphonically destructive. There you go. All the adjectives and adverbs for this guy. The previous high strikeout rates is a concern, but like I said, he has shown much improvement in AAA. Is he the left-handed version of Aaron Judge? Because I remember Aaron Judge also was there. The strikeouts were a concern, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't have the context, the rates and the swinging tendencies, but Aaron Judge was an extremely patient hitter when he started out with the Yankees, but he just couldn't make any contact because he was always trying to hit for power, and
Mm-hmm.
pitchers took advantage of that. Now you like good luck trying to play around with him because he's just crushing the ball right now, and he's the single season home run leader as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a this James Woods guy is a potential superstar. So I know low hanging fruit. That's we all know who James Woods is, but I think it's more of a warning. I think this is more of a warning to like if you're in a redraft league, this might be the last chance you get a chance at James Woods or a player like him, and just stash him away. I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised. Like now that I see that maybe the Nationals are experimenting. I definitely I just don't understand why the Nationals will keep him around toiling in AAA when he's producing, he's doing everything that they're telling him to do. The rest of the team sucks. Yeah, they're kind of they're in third place right now in the East, but they got a bunch of players
The
who
East sucks too.
I'm sorry, what?
The East kind of sucks too.
That's why
Like
they're in third place.
outside of the yeah, like outside of the Phillies, who were pretty dominant, and the Braves, who were kind of faltering a little bit because of the Acuna injury. Like there's
There's a
nothing else
yeah.
there in that division.
Yeah, the Mets are underachieving. The Marlins are going to Marlin, so the Nationals kind of sneak up out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
But they have some decent players, but it's just a mixed bag of like veteran players and everybody. Oh, well, the rebuild's working because they're 30 and 35, but no, they're what rebuild? They got a bunch of 20 like guys in the late 20s and early and to mid 30s, like Joey Gallo, Eddie Rosario. He's gonna get traded. Nick
Mm-hmm.
Senzel at 29 years old. I mean, he's having a career year of sorts, as hard as that is to believe, or at least he's going through a career stretch where he's hitting the crap out of the ball. But
Mm-hmm.
so strike while the iron's hot. You got to trade him away.
Yeah,
Lane
they still have.
Thomas,
Yeah, I was about to mention his name.
Jesse Winker.
Um,
Come on, tell
yeah,
me you can't make room on your roster to see if James Woods is the
Mariners,
real
Jesse
deal.
Winker, sure,
Maybe not to the Mariners, but maybe
but no, I was
to
saying like if I would have taken him if it was still that time frame, like if he was still with the Mariners, like
I gotcha.
yeah.
So yeah,
Now I'm like, it is what it is.
I think there's enough roster spot that you can clear up for James Wood to finish out the rest of the season with the Nationals on the big league club. Anyway, let's go to your player now. Let's go to your homebound Orioles player as soon as this stupid thing cooperates with me. Here he is. It's Samuel Basallo. I assume that's how you pronounce his name. I just
That is
noticed
correct.
that he's on Melvin's team in our head-to-head points league. And right now,
Mm,
Melvin is in first place of his division. And
mm,
but Basalo is one of his protected minor league players. 19-year-old out of Double A, so he's way ahead of schedule here. He can play both catcher and first base. Big guy out of the backstop, 6'4", 180,
Mhm.
left-handed bat, of course. Number two ranked prospect for the Orioles. So on a team, according to Fangraphs, by the way, on a team full of
Mhm.
young up and coming prospects, this guy, this catcher, is number two, even though the Orioles already have a catcher in Adley Rutschman. But as we found out, Alex, you can never have too many catchers, right?
No, no. And also, James McCann is going to be a free agent after the season, so
Mm,
that lines up. And Basalo played down in like some of like the complex leagues a few years back, so that's how he's still kind of like quote unquote like ahead of schedule, even though he's probably supposed to be about a year ish out
yeah.
anyway.
Number nine best prospect according to Fangraphs. ETA is 2027. It sounds like you're expecting him to be called up sometime next season, kind of in the mold of Wilson Contreras when both Miguel Montero in 2016, when both Miguel Montero and David Ross were on the team, and they had to call up Wilson Contreras. So the Cubs ended up with three catchers. I could see the same situation with the Orioles where
Hmm.
in next season, late in the year, they're making a playoff push. Oh boy, we could really use another good catcher on the team. Where can we get a catcher? Oh, AAA, Norfolk.
Hmm.
Hit tool is a little low, but yeah, as you see, everybody's hit tool is a little low here. So we're not gonna worry about that too much. The power is immense. I mean, we're talking
Hmm.
maybe not as good as James Woods, but pretty damn close according to these prospect grades. 70 is the limit, is the max potential, but it's still a work in process as even as game power, which is game power is can he actually utilize the power that he has and turn those into doubles and home runs? He's at 35 out of
Hmm.
70 as of right now, but the raw power is there. They do believe in that raw power. Obviously, no speed. He's a catcher. 20 out of 40 fielding. Now that's a something to worry about from a real baseball perspective, but these grades fluctuate as the years go on depending on performance. But 20 out of 40 for a catcher leads me to believe that he's not going to be, maybe they don't expect him to be a catcher uh once he gets called up by the Orioles. As you can see,
That
360, go ahead.
no, I said the 20 out of 40 is interesting because from my understanding, he's been pretty solid
Hmm.
fielding in the minors and being mainly a catcher. I it seems pretty low, but I don't know if that's because he's just really young or if they see something that I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Usually it's because he's really young and they think that maybe he has more work to do. Or you gotta also consider that there's a lot of catchers who are highly regarded up and down the majors. And
Hmm.
if they're comparing him to the rest of his peers, then maybe he's behind the eight ball in that category. But the future value is 60. I mean, that's borderline superstar right there. 366
Hmm.
Woba, 127 RC plus. Here's what I wrote. He does a good job limiting his strikeouts, big time power, and has shown the ability to spray the ball to all fields, kind of in the mold of James Woods. What else do you have to add about Samuel Basalo as an Orioles fan there?
Um, I did take a look at an article recently, and he does have 10 home runs this year
Yes.
and like 30, 40 something RBIs. But
Yep.
it did say, and this is something that is good to kind of lean on. Within the last couple of weeks, he's had four home runs and about 14 RBIs. So, I mean, of course, we know by the grades that his power production is there, and it'll be there. But it's nice to see, even as the season has slowly gone on, he's progressively gotten even better.
Mhm.
Um, and I think even though the ETA is what 2027,
Yeah.
uh, I think 25, 26 is probably more realistic. Um,
I'm telling you, man, late
is
late next year, August, September call up, you'll
yeah,
see.
yeah. Man, I can definitely see that. He's I mean, obviously his frame needs to fill out a little bit more. He's kind of
Like,
underweight uh for a tall dude, but
yeah.
um, I don't I don't like the fielding grade they gave him. That's just me. But I've heard some rumors, and not this is just pure speculation and everything, but uh, he's been discussed as kind of like the catcher of the future,
Hmm.
and that if Adley, you know, with the bases being bigger and sometimes having a little harder time getting a quick release, his defense looks a little skewed. Like he calls great games and does a lot of great things, but there's a little concern about maybe in the future that he might not be that like superstar backstop anymore, and they could shift him to first to have Basawa behind the plate, and
Here you go ahead.
that's an interesting thing because most teams probably wouldn't necessarily have that luxury because they might not have as many prospects, or more specifically catching prospects, that they could just slide right in and be that guy. But for the O's to have Basawa to potentially do that, and you cannot have enough love for how great of an offensive catcher Adley is right now, and if say his catching defense kind of falters a little bit, you want to be able to maximize his bat. So if you have to move him from behind the plate, put him at first base, DH a little bit, you want to get as much out of that as possible. And I think in the past there's been certain teams that have maybe had catchers stay catchers uh, a little too long and not said, hey, like we value your offense enough. Let's get you somewhere else. Um, but I think either way, the O's will at least have two really good catchers probably for the next 5 to 7 years.
Now, something that we never ever do on these shows because we strictly just look at the numbers and I know maybe Sean used to do it. I don't, but I don't. I just because I like to I like to try to evaluate players by the numbers that they are able to show. Because if you want to
Mm-hmm.
read the scouting report, you can go to Baseball America yourself, you can go to MLB.com, you can go to Fangraphs. But I am so curious as to why his defensive grade is so low. Here it is. By the way, basically the quick synopsis of Samuel Basallo. Basallo has Gary Sanchez's skill set except from the left side of the plate. Gary Sanchez is another terrible defensive catcher. But here's the defensive stuff that they're talking about. With a full season of defensive reps under his belt, we have little better idea of what Basallo can and can't do behind the plate. His arm strength is incredible. It kind of sounds like Salvador Perez. His arm strength is incredible. Uh, he could stand to be more accurate and consistent coming out of his crouch. His receiving is not good, but it isn't terrible either. His ball blocking uh, is a work in progress, so to speak. And that's the game. That's Basallo's game that most needs to improve. If this skill doesn't progress, or if Basallo's size quickly forces him to move out from behind the plate, then his issues with chase would suddenly become more of a problem. Though we're probably still talking about a strong enough hit slash power combo for Basallo to be an everyday first baseman. So yeah, there's issues with him blocking the plate, just framing it sounds like starting to remind me of Salvador Perez over the last few years where yeah, he can, throw out runners, but he doesn't do any wonders for. Oh, by the way, you notice that the Royals all of a sudden a lot of the pitchers that a lot of the prospects that couldn't do anything for them, all of a sudden now that Perez is not catching anymore, suddenly they all look good. I'm just saying, I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Something to think about. So anyway, that's
But
some of
some of
go ahead.
I was gonna say some of those things still make me think it's more of the fact that he's 19 than anything.
Yeah, yeah,
Is
that's
that
they mentioned that.
that
Yeah.
that that's just to give him a year or two of working a little bit more on some of his craft, and he'll be fine. Like that's so. But sometimes I don't like some of the way that they try to grade these people when they're super young. I'm like, do you not realize that this kid is like just past graduating high school age, and you're trying to tell me that he's projected career wise to be a Gary Sanchez type catcher
I mean, they gotta they do it to all
because
the
apparently
sports.
I know,
They
but
gotta do something.
I hate those types of like synopsis because it's like you're kind of trying to reach for it when you don't have enough data to work with.
I think it's
So
I think it's pretty fair because like the one thing about this is that they do change. The prospect grades will
mhm,
change next year. The
yeah,
rankings will change. So it's dynamic. So people went, I can't believe they traded away the 15th best prospect in all of baseball. Like you guys realize that just first of all, that's just one website's opinion. And secondly,
hmm
these lists are dynamic. They're always changing. The grades are always
yeah,
changing. The rankings are always changing. And it's based on player performance. So it's not
yeah,
just, oh my God, why would you trade the fifth best prospect for a rental? Because maybe there's a hole in his game that the team
yeah,
recognizes, or they're like maybe they're only hitting 240 for the year and let someone else. Or my favorite one was, I can't believe the Braves got rid of both Christian Pache and Shea Langoliers for a guy like Matt Olson, who's just a first baseman, slow plotting first baseman. Well, it turns out Pache sucks, and Langoliers all he does is strike out. So,
yeah.
sometimes you got to pull the trigger on these things,
Oh yeah,
and I have to assume that they're ranking him and that they're comparing him to a bunch of other 19-year-olds and a bunch of other catchers. The fact that he's number 9, though, I think that should show you how much respect they have for his game overall.
yeah.
But if there is going to be a weakness, it's at catcher. Yes, he's 19, but a lot of these guys are young. I mean, you got another 19-year-old we got to talk about. We got we got a few 21-year-olds we need to discuss still. We got a 22-year-old in there. They're all young.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
when
just
you
hope that
yeah.
with Basalo that this year's scouting report on him, that he goes and performs the way that Chipper Jones did after the White Sox gave him a terrible graded that I sent to the group. Uh, they're like, oh, he's just a lazy guy that doesn't hit for power, barely hits the ball out of the infield. I'm like, dude, you have no chance of drafting him because he's going number one.
We move on to the next guy. We go to Detroit, where we see the Detroit Tigers, Jace Jung, who's the brother of Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers, 23-year-old out of AAA, or can already play at second base and third base. And I wrote something here. What was that? This one has no BABIP. So James Wood, I accounted for BABIP. Jace Jung, I did not count for BABIP. 6 foot, 205-pounder, lefty bat. Oh my God, the world is falling apart. Another left-handed bat being mentioned by Felipe. The fourth best prospect with the Tiger system. 51st overall, according to the Fangraphs top 100 leaderboard. ETA this year, I could definitely see it with the Tigers being as underwhelming as they've been as ever. I can definitely see it, especially with guys like Cole Keith really not. I mean, now he's starting to kind of come alive, but he's really underwhelmed royally with the Detroit Tigers, and so has a lot of their prospects. We're still,
Yeah,
I mean, the Riley
their pitching has
Greens.
been like almost a league best from day one, but they can't hit the ball.
Yeah, they even called up the other prospect. Well, I had him as a highly touted prospect. Where did I rank? I'm talking about Wensil Perez, who
Mhm.
is currently the right fielder. But let me see, where did I have Wensil Perez on my leaderboard when the season started? I had him. There he is. Oh, 59th overall. But still, it's the guy that I was keeping an eye on. But he's kind of a post-hype sleeping prospect. But he's
Mhm.
had pretty decent production in the minors. So Wenzel Perez, he got out to a really hot start when he got called up, and then he kind of has faltered apart at the end. Riley Green, okay, Riley Green's doing pretty good, 342 on base, 451 slugging, but only a 243 batting average.
Mhm.
Colt Keith has underwhelmed. They've called up Justin Henry Malloy, and he is
Mhm.
rude
Didn't he
awakening
home
for
run in
him.
his first game?
I believe so, but he's only hitting $1.88 this for this year. What else? Akil Badu is
That's
still
not a
25 years old, huh? And he still
Yeah.
sucks.
And this guy's not necessarily like a prospect age anymore, I don't think. But
Who?
the only one that's really been doing much from what I've seen
Hmm.
is Terry Carpenter,
Yeah, and what is he
and even
hurt?
he's still not doing like great. He's
And he's already hurt. He's already hurt, so
Yeah,
forget about
yeah.
it.
He's taking an IL spot for me.
Oh my God, Torkelson got sent down already. I didn't even
He's
know that.
Yeah, he's batting like what, like 200,
Yeah, that's a shame because it looked like he
less than that.
was that we were expecting a breakout year this season, and yeah,
But
201
he
batting
batted
average.
like Yeah, but he batted like 230 something last year. The only thing that really I think kept him going was the power production.
Yeah, 31 home runs, 94 RBI, 446
Mhm.
slugging percentage, which it's not much to brag about, but since it's coming from a guy like Spencer Torkelson, it's like, oh my God, next year's gonna be the breakout. And that's why I always say to everybody, nothing in Major League Baseball is linear. Because people
Mhm.
like to believe that, oh, well, he hit 31 home runs this year, so next year he's gonna hit 35 home runs, but his batting average should be
He's
higher.
going to hit
Wrong.
40.
No,
Yeah,
no, that's not how it works. Not how it works. Well, the Tigers,
yeah,
I forgot what the Tigers did last year in terms of record wise, but I think they were in third place or something. Well,
yeah.
next year they
They
should
were in
do,
third.
they were third.
Yeah, I think they were third. They were roughly. They were just. I think they were just under 500.
Oh, well, this year they should be slightly over 500. Well, they're still 32 and 33. And the only reason they're not in last place is the White Sox are putrid. But 32 and 33, progress isn't linear just because I don't know, people like
But
to think
how?
that everything's a stepping stone to the
Yeah,
next goal
yeah,
that they need to attain. Well, guess what? The Royals have something to say about that. They're also
yeah,
youthful.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
But the Royals can hit
Hmm.
along with pitching. So with the Tigers, it's like if with how good their pitching is, like they've got like Tariq Skubal having dominant numbers.
Yeah. And
Like
Jack Flaherty
like
coming
yeah,
back.
yeah, like but yeah, you've got guys almost kind of putting up like uh I don't necessarily want to directly compare it to this, but like this is something that this came to mind is like the year that Steve Carlson won the Cy Young and he had like 27 of the 59 team wins. Like with the Tigers pitching, they're like they're the only thing that's keeping that team going. So can you imagine how good they would be if they had even just like two or three hitters that were doing even above league average?
And they're loaded in AAA too. Matt Manning, Wilmer
Mhm.
Flores, not that Wilmer Flores, there's another Wilmer Flores. This guy named Kaider Montero, who's about to be 24 years old soon. He's the 22nd best prospect according to Fangraphs. My guy, Ty Madden, not even on the 40-man roster, which would explain why he's still not being called up anytime soon. First season in AAA. Oh, well, his numbers look awful, but they were better last year. I swear they were. They were really good last year. I swear they were. Actually, he got up to a really great start at Double A, and then he got called up to AAA, and suddenly he has no control to speak of. But he's always
Mhm.
posted double-digit strikeouts per nine, and relatively speaking, was able to control his walk rates throughout the minors. But this year he's kind of imploded. So I don't know if the
Mhm.
pressure of the competition is getting to him or what. But anyway, let's go back to our guy, Jace Jung. Again, second base, third base. They're trying to get him to play third base so he can have
Mhm.
another spot to get to the majors because it looks like Colt Keith's gonna stick at second base. They're not gonna
Yeah.
move him out of there. What else have I put down about him? Again, hit tool's kind of low. The power out of a second baseman, hell, even for a third baseman is pretty good. 50 out of 60 for game power,
Mm-hmm.
60 for raw power. Speed is non-existent. The fielding, 30 out of 40. Yeah, that's what we want. We want a adequate second baseman, right? Or maybe adequate third
Mm-hmm.
baseman defensively. But like I said, those numbers fluctuate all the time. 50 future value, 390, what is it? 394 is what I wrote down. There it is. 393 WOBA, 129 WRC plus. Here's what I wrote down. Legit power from a middle infielder, good batting eye, double digit walk rate. Actually, walk rate's above 15% at the moment. And the strikeout rate's below 25%. So I will take that.
That's good. That's good.
Nice. Good batting eye, learning to go the other way, and he's now getting reps at third base. So that's Jace Jung of the Detroit Tigers. I really like it. I really like him. I like Cole Keith. I like Jace Jung. I like what the Tigers are trying to do over there. It's such a shame that it's
Mm-hmm.
not working out offensively. Pitching seems to be where it's at for them. And the only other thing is that, yeah, he's learning how to go the opposite way because he's always been uh, a strong pull hitter. But obviously, you can't just pull your way into the majors. You gotta,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
what the
He
offense. Go ahead.
he was a pretty big pull hitter in college too.
Oh,
I know you don't really pay attention much to college
yeah.
sports, um, but I paid. Obviously, I pay attention to all college sports. And he played at Texas Tech, I
Yep.
believe.
Yes.
And yeah, he had that raw power from day one. I didn't like I knew he would translate fairly well to the professional level, but I wasn't exactly sure what like the baseline for the power would be, like how that would translate over. Knew he was a pretty decent fielder. Um, yeah, he's if if he can continue to you know spray the ball across the field, no doubt in my mind that he's going to be really good for Detroit.
You
And
ready for this?
I
Ready
think
for this? Listen to this.
mhm.
Jung is dangerous all over the zone. He can crush. This is the Fangraphs scouting report. Again, we don't intend to read all the scouting reports, but I thought this was interesting. He can crush pitches, big swing, aggressive launch angle, has enough feel for the barrel to weaponize it. He does whiff quite a bit in the strike zone, but he is skilled enough to slug the crap out of the ball because of his style. But again, below average rates of contact, which I did, when I saw his profile, especially his statistics, I did think about Dan Ugla, but from the
Mm,
left-handed side. But here it is. Here's the comps. Ryan McMahon, or perhaps the last few years of Max Muncy, without such good plate discipline, is a good barometer for what to expect from Jung. Man, he better not be like Ryan McMahon. I hope he ends up being more like Max Muncy, but a little bit more aggressive. Because
mm.
Muncy is patient to a fault. So hopefully the opposite happens. But
Yeah,
I'm a big believer in
it's
Jace
funny
Jung.
to think what to think about Muncie being so patient, and then you still look at his numbers and you're like, dude, why are you barely batting 200 if you're so patient?
Yeah, that's well, because as you know, or you may not know, I'll give you a good example. Those Cubs teams from the mid 2010s and late 2010s, they came up through the Theo Epstein era of baseball. As you know, Theo Epstein, big proponent. I mean, look at what this Red Sox teams did. They used to grind out at bats and tire
Yeah.
out the opposing pitchers and to much success, right? David Ortiz, very patient hitter. Johnny Damon, yeah, he's a high average guy, slappy hitter, but he knew what the strike zone looked like. Manny Ramirez, another guy who knew what the strike zone looked like, even though he was a more on the aggressive side. Yeah, he didn't swing at pitches he didn't like, right? Then you
Mm,
get to the Cubs, and I remember on the leaderboard for most pitches per at bat or per plate appearance, I should say. On the top of the leaderboard would be guys like Anthony Rizzo, Kyle Schwarber, Chris Bryant, and what ends up happening is in the mid to late 2010s, um, it's no longer an advantage for hitters to try to grind out at bats, especially of high caliber.
Mm-hmm.
skill set like those guys I just mentioned. Because what ends up happening is the deeper you go into counts, the more likelihood is that you're gonna strike out just because the advantage goes to the pitcher. Strike zones are catch framing is much better. Strike calling
Mm-hmm.
by the umpires is much worse because of it. Um, and not only that, but you grind out at bats, you grind out at bats. You can only foul out so many pitches before the pitcher finally gets you with higher velocities as well. That's something that the mid to late 2000s Major League Baseball didn't have. All like right now everybody throws 90. It seems like back in those days only a handful of bullpen guys could come on. Yeah, and that's the other thing, you grind out at bats to get rid of the starting pitcher, but is that really what you want? Do you really want to tire out the starting pitcher and you get no good licks on the guy, and here comes
Mm-hmm.
some fifth inning guy that's throwing like 99 miles an hour just because he can, like,
Yeah.
so that's what ended up happening. So
Mm-hmm.
there is
Yeah.
such a thing as being too patient, but
Mm-hmm.
just likewise, there's such a thing as being too aggressive. So for every who were we describing? Oh, Max Muncy on the patient side.
Mm-hmm.
What would you rather have,
Yeah.
a Max Muncy, or would you rather have a Javier Baez? You get the same results basically, but Max Muncy's going to be more productive all the time because he has a better skill set.
Yeah.
You see what I
Yeah.
mean? So see, it's a question, it's a debate as old as time, man. It's something I've argued with baseball fans throughout my life. And I guess at the end, you just need balance, right? Got to have the right
Mm-hmm.
amount of aggressiveness and the right amount of patience. We move on to Kyle Teal, your guy from the Boston Red Sox. Let's see, where are we here? I can't look at my keyboard. There you go. 22-year-old at Double A, another catcher. That's more catches than I expected. I can tell you that much. Was not expecting a lot of catchers. 6 foot 190, another lefty at bat hitter. The number 5 prospect for the Red Sox, 83rd best top 100 Fangraphs selection, number 83 on the Fangraphs list. ETA of 2026, really good hit tool. Probably the best hit tool out of anybody not in red here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, he has the best hit tool of anybody not in red. Uh, Power is a little bit lacking compared to the other guys listed here. Decent speed for a catcher. See, now this is a guy, even though he is 22 years old, but here's a guy who has actually good defensive prospect rate, 40 out of 50, and a future value of 50. So not as high as Basalo, but yeah, there's your defensive catcher right there. 393 WOBA, 144 WRC plus. And here's what I wrote about Kyle Teal of the Red Sox. Great batting eye, has okay power. Can he steal 10 bases a year? Because I think he's either at four or six stolen bases this season, which is,
Mm-hmm.
to me, that seems to be pretty high. And to me, it seems like he might be on pace for double digit stolen bases, and that's why I ask.
Probably so. Yeah.
Can go the other way. Is he the Red Sox catcher of the future? I ask. So with that being said, answer whatever question I might have asked, or feel free to add whatever you want about Kyle Teal. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll answer the catcher of the future. Not entirely sure because I don't know who else they have catcher wise in their system that might be comparable, but I would like to think that he is that guy. Um, Again, college baseball fan. He played at Virginia, was really solid hitter. Definitely, definitely contact is definitely there. I'd say power will probably fluctuate over his career. Um, might be able to sneak in a few more home runs because of if he pulls it at Fenway right down the line, he might be able to sneak in a few more home runs. Definitely probably a good doubles guy. If he doesn't hit the ton of home runs, he'll definitely probably get a lot of doubles.
By the way,
Speed.
there's nobody else on the Red Sox as high of a pedigree as Kyle Teal for catchers. So
All right, so
he
yeah,
has to
so
be
then
it.
he's probably the catcher of the future.
Yeah.
And I assume they probably took him in a fairly early round within the last was it what did he get drafted
I'm
23
looking. He 2023
23
first pick, 14th overall. I mean, sorry, round one, 14th
one
overall,
14. Oh yeah, yeah,
four
and that
million
makes sense.
dollar, $4 million signing bonus for the Red Sox.
And that makes sense that he went fairly early. didn't I didn't necessarily pay too much attention to how he was defensively, but it doesn't surprise me that he's got a pretty good grade. I knew that he was kind of like a middle of the order guy in college, and he impressed me with how consistent he was, just consistent as can be, and um, yeah, I know that I'm favoring all the left-handed hitters, and I've
Yeah.
actually brought in a second catcher in this. But I don't know. I like how some of these guys have been able to put certain things together, and with Teal, it's definitely his consistency at the plate.
Listen to
I
this,
wouldn't
man.
necessarily be
Go ahead.
I wouldn't necessarily be too concerned if he doesn't hit a ton of home runs. You know, that stuff can be just a ton of doubles. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was a 20 home run guy either.
He has four stolen
Um,
bases this year, by the way. Either way, I think that's seems to be on pace for like he's teasing that double digit. I'm kind of
yeah.
now curious as if he's gonna hit that or not. Scouting report again. This is funny. This one is funny. His swing is not particularly aesthetically pleasing, with enough violence to knock his helmet clean off with virtually every hack, but the results are there. But that's the thing about him is that everything about his scouting report reads of a guy who he's all over the place, very unorthodox. Listen, you mentioned the defensive metrics, and that's what kind of piqued my interest. Teal's defensive movements are also rather mechanically maniacal, with a ton of extraneous movement as the pitcher completes his windup. Uh, his defense may need to be simplified. What else? Teal's arm is strong, but he throws it with a sidearm slot that
Mhm.
looks more like an off balance cross diamond throw from a shortstop. Odd duck as he may be across the board, Teal nevertheless presents a well-rounded overall profile and seems likely to stick at catcher. I like that. He's an odd duck.
Mhm. Yeah, I do remember his swing being kind of, I don't know, like other than how they described it, I don't know what word to use to describe it. It's just not what you would expect. But like the report said, everything is there. Like all the skills are there, so you're not gonna necessarily be concerned about how it looks as long as it gets done. I mean, where all the teams that Craig Counsell played for concerned about his weird batting stance and how
Yeah.
he would get into a swing. No, because he hit the ball and that's all they cared about.
Yep. And we move on to the next guy here. I'm a little distracted because now I'm kind of curious to see what he looks like. Oh, I'm trying to get on videos, but instead I ended up getting another podcast. Oops. So I was hoping to see video on Teal's swing, but instead I just got a similar podcast, just like ours.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the truth is out
And
there.
yeah, him playing in college at Virginia, he played against VCU twice a year, so I got to
Nice.
get a little bit more insight on that.
All right, we move on to the next player on the list. That's my player. He goes by the name of Harry Ford. Alex, yet another catcher. And that's the thing about catchers, man. They are so intriguing, right? They are incredibly intriguing when they're in the minors because they seem to do they're hitting the crap out of the ball and you know they look like they're gonna be when the Major League Baseball team gets good, this particular catcher is gonna be there to control the pitching rotation, manage the bullpen, block bases, and just be everybody thinks they're gonna get Johnny Bench. But we all know better, right? Either from a real
Mhm.
perspective, from a real baseball perspective, or from a fantasy baseball perspective. No one breaks your heart more than a catching prospect. For every Adley Rushman, there's about 10 catching prospects that wish they can end up like Martin Maldonado. They wish they can. And
Oh,
I'm kind of kicking
vote for
myself.
him for the All-Star game, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna vote for Martin Maldonado. It's a lifetime achievement award. But listen to this, man. You're looking at a guy who all off season told everybody, you don't need to draft Adley Rushman. You can hold off. I mean, I can hold off. I can get away with it. There's about five catchers late in the draft that I am confident that I will be okay with. That and those guys are Gabriel Moreno, Logan O'Hoppe, and there were other players that I'm just I'm kind of kicking myself. Like, damn it, maybe that. Oh, Bo Naylor. Oh, I was so high on Bo Naylor.
Yeah,
I was high on Bo Naylor
yeah.
last year. I'm high on Bo Naylor this year, and
I know.
he's not doing anything. Go
Didn't
ahead.
Corey get Moreno in the draft?
I
Or
believe so. I got Moreno in the fantasy points league draft I was talking to you about, the head to head. And I
Mhm.
was so happy because I finally got Gabriel Moreno. And after a month of that, like, oh boy, this guy, boy, was he fool's gold. And everybody
Yeah,
who drafted Adley Rushman at the beginning, is just at the beginning of drafts is justified at this point. But no, I just thought that I can hold off on catcher just because I've never seen the catching position be so deep, but it ended up being fool's gold. That's not as deep as we thought it was.
yeah.
So that is the dangers of like I can the name of catchers that have let me down, the Josh Phelpses of the world, the Toby Halls of the world,
Oh
the
yeah.
Matt Wieters, the freaking oh man, I think the guy I really fell in love with was Willen Rosario. I think he played for the Rockies. He was a big letdown.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
there was the other catcher, not Wilson Contreras, but he used to play for the Cubs. And shame on me, I'm forgetting his name because
Dude.
Giovanni Soto.
Yeah, yeah, Soto.
And after there was another guy after Soto, and that he let everybody down too. And I can't remember the guy's name at this point. But it's
Hmm.
just yeah, just a lot of it, it,
Downs. It.
it's a boulevard of broken dreams, so to speak, right? But every once in a while, you see a guy. I mean, we've seen a couple of guys, Samuel Basalo, Kyle Teel, but I think this Harry Ford guy might be the best of the bunch here. Uh,
Hmm.
at the age of 22, he showed great attributes, intangibles, and just I think the British team was able to qualify for the next WBC tournament, the World Baseball Classic tournament. And I gotta say, I mean, I was there in person. I saw a lot of WBC on television as well. Uh, but he has it. Like he was
Hmm.
born to be on this goddamn planet and be a catcher. Excuse the language, but that's how excited I am for Harry Ford. 5'10", 200-pounder, right-handed hitter. So that's the difference between my guy, Harry Ford, and your two catchers. Is my guy is right-handed hitter. So no platoon system to worry about. No neutralized by left-handed pitchers like your guys. I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, seriously, that is a threat. That's why I try to avoid left-handed hitters as much as possible. But yeah, what can you do? The number two
Veterans
best.
love lefties too.
Oh, I mean, it's like a siren call. Left-handed hitters and catchers. There's siren calls out at sea, right? The number two
Yeah.
best prospect for the Mariners, 59th overall in the Fangraphs Top 100, ETA of 2026. I don't know, man. If you're the Mariners, if I'm the Mariners, maybe not this year, but I think that's something that Harold Reynolds of MLB Network was talking about. Listen, if you're the Mariners, you got all these good players. You're in your window right now. You got to do
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
You got to do something here.
They
And
need to call them up next year. Like, what are they going to lose with it? They really can't lose much. You're probably going to get a good catcher for your staff who's already really good. You're going to probably get a pretty decent bat regardless.
And like I said, I'm not talking about this year, but I'm definitely not talking 2026 either. Maybe not even, but yeah, 2025. You need to give this guy, and I know only in Double A. I understand that, but you need to give him every opportunity to see if he can stick in the majors because. And it might be me just falling in love with a prospect. It might be me falling in love with someone I saw in person. But man, I don't know, man. This guy had when I when I think about intangibles from a catcher, this guy has it.
Mhm.
And yeah, and the first step of get to that major league level is he needs to get called up to AAA as soon as possible. Which I don't know what the Mariners' idea is, but I don't always agree with Harold Reynolds, but it is kind of scary that the Mariners might have one of their best teams that they've had in a long time. They have their centerpiece in and Julio Rodriguez. They have a lights out rotation, a who's who of rotation starters. Really good bullpen.
Logan Gilbert, they've got like they've arguably have outside of as I'd say like the Dodgers, they have arguably about the best, not even just rotation, but best overall pitching
Yeah, just name for
out of
name, pound for
anybody in
pound.
the league. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. I
yeah.
believe in the Mariners rotation and their pitching staff as a whole. The offense is a different story. But again, that goes back to, well, is it the players that are bad or is it just the environment? We all know that Seattle has a very, very pitching friendly ballpark and the hitters are the ones who suffer. Even Julio Rodriguez, 318 on base percentage, 348 slugging percentage. Yeah, there's a reason why I traded him away in my Mardi Gras in the fantasy points
Yeah,
team. I was more than happy. Yeah, you can have my center fielder of the future. I don't care. I'd rather have Aaron Judge or
yeah.
Jordan Alvarez. Um,
Because I looked at their roster, and because I was one of the guys. This was I was one on my honorable mention. Actually, just got called up by the Mariners yesterday. But I was talking to Tyler from our um, Musically group,
yeah, yeah.
and we were talking about some of like the with the guy getting called up. I'm like, why didn't they call him up sooner? They don't really because I was taking a look at some of the people they had on the roster and the production and this and that and the other, and I was like, why did they why did they wait? Because really outside of Rodriguez, Ty France, and Kyle Raleigh, like there's not much going on there.
And sorry, who was
And
the
we're
player? Who was the player? I'm sorry.
the player they called up is Tyler Locklear, first baseman,
Ah,
third
yes,
baseman.
yes.
He played at VCU. Dude is a beast, by the way.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I was looking at the roster and I'm like, yeah, like if you wanted him to play third, you there's not much there that's blocking him from playing because there's not a lot of power production. The batting averages from the people they've had playing there have been terrible. So if you're wanting to be like, oh well, we got Ty France first, hey, that's cool. Just go ahead and have him play third. But you waited,
Mm-hmm.
and your in most of your offense outside of a couple of players is pretty atrocious. So like, why are like what's like what you were asking is like what is their like method with this? What are they thinking as far as how they're trying to call people up and like a simple their lineup? And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. They basically got nobody.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm not
So
saying that
Ford could
these
come up soon.
and it's not guaranteed either. I mean, like I'm the same guy who says
Yeah.
progress isn't linear. But I mean, in the Nationals example, when you got a guy like James Woods, yes, I know he's experimenting. Sure, why not? But you can't have him toil away in the minors for the rest of the season. You need to reward him for a good productive year
Mhm.
in the minors and see if he can handle major league pitching soon. Selfishly, sooner rather than later. But August is fine. But if you're gonna wait till September, that's an injustice for the guy. As far as
Mhm.
getting back to Harry Ford, I'm not asking him to be called up this season. I'm definitely asking him to be for him to get called up to AAA sooner rather than later because he's having a banner year right now in AA.
Mhm.
But this 2026 ETA, that's not gonna you can't have that. You cannot have that. You got to
Yeah.
give him an opportunity to try to win the spot next year in spring training. Now, there's probably method to the madness. There's contractual obligations. There's roster spaces that need to be made available. But this kid, uh, I'm just blown away. I'm impressed, and he's living up to the hype. Yeah, the hit tool
Mhm.
is lacking. The power is still kind of blooming. The speed for a catcher is rare, though. And unlike your guy Samuel Basalo, they do reward good behavior in terms of the fielding. 40 out of 50, which is right in line with
That's
Kyle Teal, by the way.
Teal. Yeah.
Yeah, 50 future value, just like Kyle Teal. So we're talking about
Mhm.
two guys for two organizations on two different coasts who have their catcher of the future if all things go well for them. 378 WOBA, 127 WRC plus, so 27% better than league average. I wrote made impact at the WBC for the Great Britain team. It should be Great Britain, not the United Kingdom. Sorry about that. I'll fix that. I don't want to get I don't want to get chastised by the political people out there. He has good pop. He has good pop. He's really fast for a catcher. I think he already has 15 stolen bases. Yep.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
stole
That's insane.
24 stolen bases in 2023. He stole 24 stolen bases and chipped in 15 home runs in 2022 in single A and single A baseball. So last year he was in high A. In 2022 in single A, 11 home runs, 23 stolen bases for a catcher? Are you kidding me? Great plate
That
discipline, and he's been productive at every stop. Go ahead.
his speed almost is telling me that like what is his backup position like? Like if
No,
he doesn't
no,
play
no
catcher,
backup. Nope. Oh, you're just
that
asking in general,
that is crazy. Yeah,
or you're
I'm
asking?
thinking like if the whole catcher thing doesn't work out, like what? Not trying to say that he's not going to work out because I believe he will, but
Yeah,
with
but
that speed,
yeah,
it's kind of like if it if he doesn't pan out as a catcher, could he be like outfield?
yeah, maybe. I was thinking second base for obvious
Um,
reasons.
yeah,
Craig Biggio, second base,
yeah.
but a guy like him, pairing him up with this pitching staff and with
Oh
his
no,
intangibles. Oh,
it'll be insane.
it's not even gonna be fair anymore.
Yeah,
But at the same time, yeah, you want to see if you can preserve some of that speed, some of that offense, because. But at the same time, you don't. This guy could be Yadier Molina if he knew how, if he had offensive skill.
yeah,
Yeah, that's how good. I mean, I'm infatuated with this kid. And again, you got to be careful because catching prospects they will kill your fantasy teams. But
yeah.
man,
Are you just wanting the Mariners to DFA everybody so that he can come up now?
no. He's not ready now. No, I don't think he's ready. He needs to go through AAA first, and but he needs to go to AAA. Maybe not too quickly because you don't want to. He's only. I mean, he's only. What I say? He was 22 years old, right?
22. Yeah,
I think that's about right. If I can.
22 years old.
Yeah, 20.
I
Oh,
mean,
21
21.
years
Oh
old. Oh
wow.
my goodness. So yeah, you don't want to call him
Man,
up too fast, but at the same time, 2026 is the ETA, and I think that's too late. Uh,
yeah,
I think 2025, you got to give him a chance to compete. As far as a fantasy spin on this, if you're in a dynasty league, you're probably out of luck. If you're in a keeper league, you might be able to get him as people fall asleep on catchers. It might be worth the roll of the dice to get him. It's kind of astonishing that a guy like Melvin already picked up some Samuel Basalo.
solid.
Uh,
Mhm.
and it's probably because he's Dominican and he might have
Yeah,
interviewed him on his Baseball Cosmos Facebook page. So who knows? But so and we're not even a real keeper league. We protect our minor league players, but we only have two slots to protect. So if you're in a shallow keeper league and like kind of in that same mold where you only get two minor league players to protect, you might find Harry Ford. Redraft leagues definitely out of the question. You can't have that because there's no way in God's green that he's gonna get called up this year. There's just no way. But for
yeah.
next year, if we're talking about long term,
The Mariners have to have him up. They have to have him up
when?
next year.
Oh yeah,
There's
next.
like
Yeah,
I
you don't want
give
to.
him a shot in spring training to really prove that he can to try to get him to prove that he can make the roster out of camp.
You
And if he
can't
doesn't,
not
then
have. You cannot have another Jared Kalenic situation happening here because that's what they did with Jared Kalenic. Oh well, he needs to go back and play some defense in the minors, and he was never the same ever again for the Mariners.
yeah,
And he was a
yeah.
very highly touted prospect,
Oh,
super can't miss prospect.
way too talented to turn out the way he did.
Yeah. So Harry Ford, that's him. I don't always fall. This could be the next best catcher since
Mhm.
Adley Rushman prospect. I mean, Kerry Ford
Yeah.
just reminds me so much of Yadier Molina, and not just Molina, but a little bit of Buster Posey as well.
Hmm.
That alone
With the
might be where.
offense.
And
Yeah.
again, you don't want to get burned by these catchers. We just talked this offseason about how awesome Logan O'Hoppe is, how awesome Gabriel Moreno, Bo Naylor, all these late Francisco Alvarez, remember him?
Hmm.
Yeah, oh my God, this batch of prospect catchers has never been so deep before, and they all burn you. They all burned you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I'm kind of curious. Who are the best catchers in our points league? While that gets loaded up on the other screen, let's move on to your player, this Reds player, Cam Collier, 19-year-old, high A ball, third baseman, 6'1", 210, lefty at bat, the 18th best prospect for the Reds at the moment, according to Fangraphs. 2027 ETA, uh, low hit tool. Power is a work in progress, as you guys can see. 20 out of 50 for game power, 55 out of 55. 55 out of 60 for raw power.
Mhm.
Speed is slightly improving, but not much to brag about. But the fielding, he might be a really good fielder, but only a 40 future value, 332 WOBA, and only a 101 WRC plus. Here's what I wrote about him. He's currently struggling in high A. Oh, this is the guy you must have been talking about.
Mhm.
Struggling in high A, decent power, very raw prospect. Needs to avoid the high ground ball rates like in 2023. Uh, this was not a head scratcher, but this was a very interesting pick because it's very easy to pick the guys who are doing well, but you went in a different direction. Why? And you went with a guy who might be struggling a bit right now at the moment. What was your I guess what was your method there as to why you picked a guy like Cam Collier
Um,
to spotlight today?
so, well, one kid's 19. He actually graduated high school a year early, reclassed, and went to JUCO for a year, then got drafted by the Reds. But 19 years old, raw prospect, has the potential to get better. He's got, I think this year he's got some fairly decent power so far. I think like 9 home runs, not anything like eye popping, but not anything like, well, like, are we concerned about it? Um, what I noticed when I looked at some of his advanced metrics, or like not in necessarily the advanced metrics, but like some of like the um, I guess they're kind of advanced a little bit. But his walk rate has gone down
Hmm.
as he's gone up in the minors, and his strikeout percentage has gone up a little bit. So although they're both trending in the wrong direction currently, his numbers were really great when I think his first year in complex, he had like a 21% walk rate, or might be slightly off, but it was about like 21%, which is pretty dang good. Um, but now it's down to like 7.
Hmm.
And if I feel like maybe he's trying too hard to really prove himself by not taking more walks. Maybe he's being a little too aggressive. I'd
Hmm.
have to take a look at some of his, like his highlights and things like that to
Okay.
be for certain. But my assumption would be if he can get those numbers to even out a little bit more, then you'll be able to see some of his raw power. Um, and like you mentioned, his fielding is pretty good. So I think if he could get something going with the the walk rate, and I would assume a higher contact rate too, um, then he'd be something to really work with. I mean, he's not that badly rated of a prospect, but of course we know not everything is straightforward and linear, and and we can see is actually regressed a little bit. But I'm hoping that he can gain a little more confidence in himself
Mhm.
and really trust his instincts. He's actually the son of Lou Collier that played in the
Oh, okay.
majors. You,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's his kid.
Oh, interesting.
Um,
Okay. So the pedigree's
yeah,
there.
yeah. So that's there. I just don't know. I, I'd have, like I said, I'd have to take a look at some of the highlights, but I'm not sure why his walk rate went down like
Yeah.
almost 15% in 2 years.
Yeah, maybe just tougher pitching. He's still a teenager. It's
Yeah.
but the competition is getting tougher. And maybe, like you say, he's trying to be more aggressive. It's definitely showing because he has hit for 10 home runs. Maybe the Reds are asking him to hit for more power. So that might be a situation there. By the way, Harry Ford, my guy, he was the Babbitt pick.
Mm.
Yeah, so he's doing all this with a reasonable batting average on balls in play. So it's nothing like, oh, he has a 500 batting average on balls in play. Therefore,
Yeah, yeah.
let's quickly move on as we are way above time. Let's see if we can finish this fast. I'll go with a Reds player, my Reds player, Jay Allen the second, and this is a guy I didn't know what to make of, but it looks like we both have Reds players that we don't know what to make of. 21-year-old, he's my high A ball pick. For my high A ball player, he had to be less than 21 years old. Outfielder, I think he's played all three outfield positions so far in his young career in the professional baseball. 6'2", 190, bats right-handed, the 29th best prospect for the Reds. ETF 2026. Very, very low hit tool. This is the lowest of this grouping. So already we're in trouble here. 30 out of 45 game power, but he does have raw power of 50 out of 60. So there is a untapped potential there. Really fast. 60 out of 60 speed. And yeah, he's projected to be a really good fielder. 45 out of 60 so far. 35 plus future value, however, so nothing to sneeze, nothing to brag about here. But he's having a really good start to this year. 442 WOBA, 170 WRC plus, so 70% better than what I say, 70% better than league average.
Mhm.
Is he even mentioned here on the Fangraphs leaderboard? There's Cam Collier there. And oh, there's Jay Allen, but yeah, he's way, 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 way down. So Collier was 18th. Jay Allen was 29th overall. And then, so I guess they're teammates, right? Yeah, they're both in high A,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah, they're teammates.
Here's what I wrote about Jay Allen. Second season in high A is going better than the first season. He's a base thief, but he's learning to hit with more pop. Well, you know what? He's learning to hit with more pop. So is the other guy, Cam Collier. So maybe
Hmm.
that's a Reds thing. Yeah, okay, guy. You can slap the ball, but let's see you hit the ball with more authority. He has a good
Hmm.
Jay Allen the second has a good understanding of the strike zone. He's lifting the ball more in the air this year.
Hmm.
Interesting. I wonder if that's just a Reds thing. Like, yeah, if you're gonna make the big league club, listen, we play at the Great American Small Park. Yeah, it's pretty cool that you can slap the ball around and, you know, hit them where they ain't. But we really need you guys to start hitting the ball in the air. I'm still on the Cam Collier page, and yeah, he's hitting the ball in the air more. It's a career high, 37.1% fly ball rate. And he's also pulling the ball more than ever as well. So maybe there is something to be said about what the Reds are trying to do with their young players in that regard. Maybe they're getting the
Hmm.
memo like, oh, shoot, if we're gonna make this big league team, we need to really just demolish the crap out of the ball. So
Hmm.
it's kind of interesting that both the Reds players have a similar path.
Yeah. What's the
And
walk rate for Jay Allen?
Jay Allen is at 12.8% so far, and I'm already
Has
out
that
of
gone
the
up or down?
let's see here.
Has it gone up or down for the last couple of
It's hard
years?
to tell because yeah, this is his third stint at high A ball, so it's gone up.
Hmm.
Like I said, the
Okay.
second season, because last year he was in high A ball. This season he's back in high A ball, so this year looks a lot better than last year. So that's kind of a
Hmm.
red flag when players have to repeat the third grade, sorry, the high A ball.
Yeah.
But what you do want to see is that there is improvement, even if it's the third time around. The first time around, he was 19 years old, so that's not to say that. Cam Collier
Yeah.
cannot face the same fate because Collier is
Yeah.
19 years old. Who's to say that he doesn't have to? He doesn't need 3 seasons of high A ball. But yeah, I try to avoid those repeat guys. But I think in
Hmm.
this instance, he was doing so much better than everybody else. And before that, let's see, he had 84 plate appearances in high A ball in 2022. In 2023, he was 105 plate appearances. So what's that's a combined
89.
189. Thank you. 189 plate appearances in 2 stints in high A ball. This year he's at 172 just this year alone. So
Hmm. Was
combined
he
with
injured
those,
or something?
I'm not sure. I didn't go too deep. I know that there was a
Yeah.
complex
I
league
just assumed.
in
Yeah.
there as well last year. But let's say in 3 stints at high A ball, he's already at what 189
Three,
plus 172. So
about 360.
maybe they're about 370. So almost a full season. And he's producing. He has already 8 home runs, 13 stolen base. He's always been a stolen base guy. So that's another.
Hmm.
People keep telling me I don't respect these stolen base guys too much. Well, here's one for you. I'm mentioning him now.
Hmm.
And just like your guy, he's also trying to hit the ball with more authority, more in the air. But he definitely needs to avoid the ground balls because that's been his MO. He just hits it in the ground, and obviously a guy like that, you want him to utilize his speed and take advantage. But I think he got the memo. If you want to join the big league club, you got to hit the ball with more authority and not
Hmm.
just pull because he's been pulling. He's always posted high pull rates, but unfortunately, he's probably pulling it to what was he, a right-handed hitter? I said he's probably pulling it to third
Hmm.
base or shortstop for easy outs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's Jay Allen. Let's finish up your list with the Astros player I see there. And that player is Jacob Melton, late addition to the list, as like I said before. Your what was it, your
Hmm.
previous guy? I forgot your previous guy.
I forgot that Jordan Beck got called up by the Rockies.
That so I thought, hey, you give me another player. How about Jacob Melton? That'll fly. Jacob Melton's actually owned in that league I'm telling you about, the points
Hmm.
league, by an Astros fan. So kind of a homer pick going on. But here we go. 23-year-old, double A. That's a red flag. But we'll give you a chance. We'll give him a chance, I should say. Outfield, 6'2", 208-pounder, lefty bat. That's a theme. And it's in red. So that means, yeah, with the 2023 report had him coming up in 2027. Decent hit tool. Power is still kind of developing 30 out of 45, but he caps at a 55. Speed is always going to be good, 60 out of 60. 40 future value, 356 WOBA, but only a 114 WRC plus, only 14% better than league average. Here's what I wrote about him. Potential power speed combo, has does a good job controlling his strikeout rates, relatively low on base skills, however, and he is a ground ball hitter. So yet another guy who it's kind of underwhelming, kind of a red flag. 23-year-old. Oh, sorry, he's a double A. But what was I doing? 20. I was only looking at 22-year-olds. So, but
Hmm.
you saw 23-year-old. Let's give him a chance. Why should we give him a chance?
If I remember correctly, he played some. I can't remember what college he played at, but I think he played in college, so that might explain the double A at 23. Uh,
Probably Oregon State.
yeah, Oregon State. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, but if he can stop hitting the ball into the ground like some of the other guys we've named on the list,
Yeah.
his speed is way too good. So if you can combine some power with that, that's going to be like a really enticing thing where I would assume the Astros definitely will call him up way sooner than what was it, the 2020s,
26, according to last year's
26?
report. Yeah.
Yeah. If he can if he can hit more line drives and more balls in the air. What did it say his power or like raw power was?
55 out of 55. He once hit 18 home runs in high A ball, 23
Hmm.
combined last year, 2023. Let me start over. Sorry. In 2023, in both high A ball and double A last year, he had 23 home runs and he was able to chip in 46 stolen bases. No big deal. It's whatever. At double A though, he did struggle with strikeouts, so that was kind of a red flag. But I could see that this guy could be kind of an afterthought, especially in fantasy leagues. He could be an
Yeah.
afterthought, but that means he could be a cheap source of stolen base and give you maybe some 10, 15 home runs to boot. I mean, that's not too shabby.
Nah. But if he can learn to hit the ball with more authority, um, and not hit the ball to the ground, then maybe 20 plus
Hmm.
with that 40 steals, that's not bad to get out of somebody.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, obviously some of the strikeouts are a little bit of a red flag, and being a little bit older in Double A is a little bit of a red flag too. But I think the Astros the last couple years have been an interesting team because they've shown some flashes of are they going to be able to keep it up?
Hmm. And they
And
do.
you're seeing it in but they yeah they've kept up. They actually won the division last year.
Mm.
They snuck in and got that. But this year they're off to another really slow start.
Yeah.
But some of the players like uh, Altuve, his production is all right. It's okay, but
No, it's I mean, it's
it's
wrong.
very underwhelming as far as like what he was for like a little like
Yeah.
solid stretch there. Like it's
It's,
definitely like
you would before you go on, I gotta share this with the folks. His triple slash line, Jose Altuve so far, 297 batting average, 348 on base percentage, and 454 slugging percentage. You couple that with 10 home runs and 9 stolen bases. That's a 10-10 player right there so far, nearly halfway through the season. It's not what we're used to see, but a lot of guys would take that
mm,
production in a heartbeat. You want to see what's bad. Alex Bregman at 237 batting average, 303 on base percentage, 407 slugging percentage.
his power
Bring
production is definitely down
Now
from what
they gotta bring back the trash cans for this guy because he's awful. Go ahead.
yeah. Uh, but I was gonna say like really outside of um Tucker and Alvarez, do they really have anybody that's like really eye popping in their lineup? I mean, like Altuve's still doing pretty good, but he's underwhelming compared to what we're normally getting out of him. Um, and the pitching is kind of iffy.
Yeah, and
Uh,
to their credit, in terms of outfield, now that you mention it, they just yeah, there's Kyle Tucker, and you can argue if Yordan Alvarez should be playing outfield or not. But what they really do a good job of is they get the best out of their fringe prospects. Remember, they were punished by Major League Baseball. Uh,
mm,
like they got rid of they took away their first and second round picks for like 2 or 3 years in a row, because of the cheating scandal they got involved in. But okay, that's fine. Jake Myers, come on up. I mean, you're an okay prospect, but you're our okay prospect, so go out there and do what you can. Chas McCormick. And I forgot, I always confuse these guys because I can't remember who was the guy that made the game-saving catch in the World Series against the Phillies. I think it might have been Chas McCormick,
yeah,
but
I think it was McCollum.
that's what I mean. These are all guys that have power speed combinations and at the very least adequate gloves in the outfield.
Yeah.
And they just maximize the crap out of their usage. They do a really good job with
Hmm.
that. The next guy they got up is Joey Loperfido, who is already off to a good start, but he's on a bench spot situation right now. But he was
Hmm.
hyped up by like the Eno Sarises of the world. Like, yeah, they gotta look at Joey Loperfido. I think even the CBS guys made a big deal of him. I gotta look at this Joey Loperfido guy. Don't miss out on him. And yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at and really quick before I see the floor back to you, I'm just double checking their injuries, and
Mhm.
it's Kyle Tucker's the one who's I
Yeah,
s- the
the
sh
the shin
I saw
gives him
yeah, but I saw shit contusion. That's how late it is on this side of the world. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, I think you bring up a really, and they still got Pedro Leon, who was another one of those guys who,
Hmm.
uh, I'm not saying that he was this uh, highly regarded prospect, but he was that fringe, maybe next guy up. I think at one point he was playing shortstop as well. Let me double check that. Yeah, he was playing shortstop for a bit, and now he's listed
Hmm.
as an outfielder. And what was his claim to
Yeah.
fame? His claim to fame was, yeah, home run. Oh my God, home run speed combination.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
But he's also had four stints at AAA.
Gosh.
And it just makes me want, again, his thing is that he can't control his strikeouts.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the home runs and stolen bases are there. So
Hmm.
that's your thing. You want to roll the dice on a
Yeah. Maybe.
friend,
Yeah.
maybe, right?
Yeah. And uh this guy doesn't necessarily have a lot of power, but doesn't what's his name? Mauricio Dubon, doesn't he play a little bit of outfield too?
Yes, yes,
Outside of
and
second base?
yeah, yeah. He's your
Like your super utility.
poor man's version of Ben Zobrist, like a homeless version of
Yeah.
Ben Zobrist. Sure, yeah, he's their guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
no,
I mean
they
I can't necessarily see why Jacob Melton if and especially if his power production becomes better, like if he hits more consistent line drives, hits some more fly balls, stops hitting the ball in the dirt all the time. Gosh, man, like I
mhm,
know you got a lot of speed, but come on, like you've got he's got pretty good raw potential for power.
yeah,
So if he can tap into that, I don't see why he couldn't be that like at the very minimum that fourth outfielder
yeah,
for them.
yeah. That's a
And
that
he
I
could
could definitely
be
see that.
and he could turn into a regular, if his power turns out to be pretty good along with that speed, go ahead and have him as your everyday guy. If, if that's what he, maxes out at, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we normally don't do this. I normally don't do this, but now you got me curious to see. Okay, Jake Myers. He's still under team control until 2028, so no room there. Chas McCormick, team control until 2027. Dubon, wow, team control until 2027. You're seeing what do you call it? Okay, here we go. He might replace Kyle Tucker, who's only under who becomes a free agent in 2026.
Mhm.
So now you got me looking at things like this just to see if there's room. I could see
Or
them.
do they trade any of those other dudes?
I think you gotta find a way to keep Kyle Tucker if you're
Yeah,
the
but
Astros.
like a Myers or McCormick or a Dubon, like maybe you could
Boy, oh
put
boy,
loose on one of them.
it's a tough sell. I mean, that's where the
Maybe.
Astros to worry about, but
Yeah.
I don't know,
But if
man.
they
That's
but
a
if
hard
their
one.
team doesn't do any better this year and definitely next year, like do they have but so much of a choice to not bring Melton up sooner if he's more maximizing his skill set?
Well, right now the cheaper option is Jake Myers, who's only making $767,000 this year. The other guys are Dubon and McCormick. Those are the two big potential movers here. They're hovering around $3 million. So I
Mhm.
could see a situation, and they're arbitration eligible for the next 2 seasons as well. I could
Mhm.
see them trying to move both of those guys away just so they wouldn't have to pay that hefty price, and then maybe
Yeah.
that's when you bring up a guy like um Melton, Jacob Melton into the
Mhm.
mix. But that it could that's a interesting problem to have if you're the Astros. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you're the Astros, you gotta take advantage of this older club. I mean, and Bregman is gone after he's a free agent next season. If I'm them, I'm not
Mhm.
signing him. Like he's just
No.
been so putrid. Altuve is signed through 2030. So what's that? His
How old is he
G
going to be by
I'm trying to do the math here. 35,
then?
36, 37, 38, 39, 40. So kind of the Justin Verlander thing. Uh Jose Abreu's gone.
What production are you going to get out of him at 40 though?
That's for the future
And
Astros to worry about.
I
But
know, but you have to think even like current Astros, you have to think you have him signed for what 6 more seasons.
yeah.
His numbers are slowly, starting to taper off a little bit now.
Yeah, it's
How how much longer would you be willing to put up with if they start to really taper off, where you're just like, all right,
well, they still
we got to find a way to move you, but then you're gonna be trading a dude who's probably too old to really be moved.
yeah, and who knows if he'll invoke his veteran rights and there's no trade clauses. You still have
Because
Jordan Alvarez on the team.
yeah,
That's the other big name. Josh Hader will be in the back end of the bullpen still. You still got a few more years of Lance McCullers under contract. Christian Javier is still under contract. They signed him to a big deal. Oh boy, he
those guys
does.
have been getting hurt.
Yeah, and
And McCullers has
he's
been getting hurt a little too much.
yeah, and they're making big money. McCullers at
Yeah.
17 million next year. Javier is slated to make 21 million starting in 2026 per season. So yeah, Bregman's gone. You gotta use that money that you were gonna use on Bregman and Kyle Tucker. And you
Mhm.
gotta figure out if you want Framber Valdez to be a part of this group, but he's already 30 years old. Um,
So he
so
might be something like someone that you find a way to,
trade.
yeah, try to put in a deal. Maybe
Yeah,
package someone else in it so that it's a little more convincing. Not that he's bad or anything, but
yeah.
the age thing might be the factor.
So it might you might see an outfield of maybe not Jordan Alvarez, but Kyle Tucker, Jake Myers, and Jacob Melton, and you still got to account for the other kid I was telling you about, Loperfido, I think is his name. So
Yeah, yeah.
like I said, I'm not worried about the Astros too much because they just get the maximum capacity out of all their even their fringe prospects. They get the absolute max out of them. All right, let's finish up here. The last guy we're going to talk about, Alex Freeland of the Dodgers. Again, this is my double A guy, and this is my no limit BABIP, 22-year-old out of double A shortstop. At first, I wasn't too excited when I picked him. Oh, great, another Dodgers player, but switch hitter, so something different.
Hmm.
But here's where I'm a little concerned. The 42nd best prospect for the team, and I think Fangraphs only
Oh,
did 42 prospects for the team. So ETF
mhm,
2027 with a loaded lineup like the Dodgers, yeah, it might be a while. But we saw the Dodgers
mhm.
lineup. It's very top heavy.
Yeah.
So hit tool's a little low, game power is low, the raw power is adequate, but nothing to brag about. So like kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. Fielding is pretty good, so that'll play at shortstop, but only at 35
Mhm,
plus of future value. So we're talking maybe
mhm,
fringe bench player at this point. But why is he on this list? Well, he's hitting 440. He has a WOBA, weighted on base average of 444 with a WRC plus. That's the weighted runs created plus of
mhm.
169, which means
Hmm.
he is 69% better than league average. Nice.
Nice.
Excellent batting eye and discipline, I thought to myself. Has been productive at almost every single snap he's ever been in. He's a base stealer and he's improving his pull rate. So that is Alex Freeland in a nutshell. We talked about the Dodgers already. I'm just kind of double checking to see if there's anything else to talk about Freeland, who looks like last I checked, he was primarily a shortstop. But you know how it goes with shortstops. Those guys can be moved around all over the place.
But
Um,
the Dodgers could move they've already moved Mookie from what right to second to short
yeah, yeah,
in like 3 years.
yeah.
So
Wait until he catches for them.
yeah.
Freeland does play some occasional second base, but no, they got him at shortstop at double, like strictly at shortstop for most of his career. I did say that he's trying to pull the ball more, which this is a career yeah, this is a an improvement over the last two stops that he's had in high A. And
Hmm.
yeah, he's trying to hit the ball more with more authority as well. especially in terms of fly ball rate. So he's trying to decrease his ground ball rate this season. And again, 10 stolen bases already. He's posted 31 stolen base season before, and he almost got to
Hmm.
double-digit home runs. But in 2023, he's held for 9 home runs along with those 31 stolen bases. But it came at
Hmm.
the cost of a 28.4% strikeout rate. So you can't have that. But like I said, his
Yeah.
plate discipline has been improving. He's been able to control his strikeouts more, and he's still providing. Oh my God, a 212 isolated power. So he has 5 home runs already in
Hmm.
143 plate appearances. And he
Not
that
bad
comes
for right now.
it comes with 7 doubles as well. So yeah, he like I said, he's productive. He's been productive at every stop, but it
I
remains
guess
to be.
worst case scenario, they try to platoon him at other positions once he gets up and he turns into Chris Taylor.
Well, he's a switch hitter, bro. So what platoon? What are you talking about? Platoon? No
I know.
way.
But
Eh,
well, have him play second, short, corner, outfield,
yeah,
something.
utility. Yeah. He'll get his playing time in. He'll or if anything, they might use him as a trade piece and sucker some other
Yeah.
team. By the way, because you're a college guy, Central Florida is where he's from. Central Florida, third round pick, 25th overall in that round in the
That's
2022
why
draft.
the name sounds familiar.
Well, yeah, because your name is Alex, so this is Alex Whelan.
No, but
Oh,
but but I remember hearing his name in college though, and I didn't hear it a lot. Um, Conference that well at the time that Central Florida played in was not like not bad, but it wasn't like the you're going to hear a lot about these kinds of guys
yeah.
conference. But I did hear some about him, and I don't know. I guess I didn't hear a lot because other than the speed and the fielding, as far as we can see right now, he's moderately productive at everything else. He's
Yeah.
not like wow
Oh,
anything else
right.
than the glove and the base stealing.
Yeah, like I say, jack of all trades, master of none, but he might be a master of like getting a lot of stolen bases. So we'll see how that
Hmm.
turns up. Really quick, we are in a league together, not just a WNBA league, that's for another podcast, but this is our league right here. And over at ESPN, the Total Basis Podcast League, I am your two-time champion. But right now, oh boy, Mayday, Mayday, Felipe is out for the count. We are halfway through the season. I am 6-5. Your team is 5-6. Are you pushing the panic button yet? Well, how do you feel halfway through this season so far?
I'd only slightly push the panic button because Acuna's out for the rest of the year,
Hmm.
and that was my number one pick. And and it's weird. I still currently have three catchers on my roster, which is like completely unheard of in fantasy baseball.
What are you
But
doing, man?
I only had, well, I wanted to keep two of the backups because they're on the same team, and I was trying to figure out which one, would be the guy that'll be playing more often, will put up the production, yada yada yada, so that I could have an alternative already on my roster if the one catcher that I'm starting either doesn't play well or gets hurt. But it looks like I need to figure out really soon which guy on the bench to get rid of because
Yeah.
I could probably use an extra hitter.
Yeah, it's a decent team, but they are struggling. They're not playing up to speed. They're not playing up to par. Let's
Yeah.
see how they've done the last 2 weeks. That's a usually a good gauge. Yeah, Campusano has cooled off. Alec Baum, I'm not a believer in Alec Baum, and this is why. Arias will arise. He will arise to the occasion. Rafael Devers
Mhm.
is the goods. Dansby Swanson has underwhelmed the last 2 weeks. Jake Cronenworth, Isaac Paredes has underwhelmed as well in the last 2 weeks, and a little bit might be getting exposed with more playing time. I don't know. I have him in my
Yeah.
points league too, and I love the guy to death. But yeah, he
I traded for him because I needed extra depth at corner and field because when
yeah.
Devers went out early in the year, I was like, oh crap, I need to find someone that's actually kind of good. So I was like, all right, let's go ahead and trade this extra outfielder that I don't need right now and get Paredes, but he's cooled off recently, and
Yeah,
I've had a
Wyatt.
lot of guys get hurt, which is frustrating.
Well, let's see, Wyatt Langford, Michael Harris, a lot of guys who are just underwhelming, but these are some big
Yeah,
names, some big
yeah.
name players that Marcell
Brian
Ozuna
Reynolds,
is the goods.
yeah,
Yeah, Brian Reynolds. So
Orleans.
big names, big names. Oh, I see what you're saying. Travis d'Arnaud and Sean Murphy. Oh
Yeah,
wow,
I'm trying to
they
figure out which one of those two
it looks like it's Sean
is
Murphy,
actually
bro.
going to do anything.
But they're both not doing anything.
But, but what was it like last week or something? I saw his totals was like 4 for 26, and I'm like, come on, man! Like, at least give me something so I can figure out if I can get rid of Darno or you.
Bro, why is Acuna still on your team? This isn't a
He's the
keep.
one player I can't drop.
You can't drop him?
Nope. I found out the hard way by looking to see if I could, and I
Why?
couldn't.
He's
So he's take.
no way.
Apparently, I couldn't drop him, so that's why he's taking up an IL spot that could be used on somebody else.
Let me see this. Can I do something about that? Let me see. Uh, edit roster. Huh. It's the thing. Well, you know what? This is people didn't want to pay for another website. They wanted to take advantage of the free site that is ESPN, and now you're paying for it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe right here, maybe adjust the roster of league members. Yeah, very riveting things happening here. I am the league manager. What's your team's name? O'Reilly.
Right, Roy Oswald is a play on
I
words
see it.
with
I see
the O's.
league manager, sorry. No, I'm trying to manage IL maybe. Let's see. Wow. Okay, so uh maybe not. No, maybe I need to drop him. Let me see if I can drop him. Drop a player as a league manager. Oh, no, no. Yeah, that's what I want. I want to change Austin. He would kill me. Killing me, Smalls. Now, Austin
Yeah.
will come back to Chicago and kill me. Drop player for Roy Oswald as a league
So
manager.
if I see you in a body bag dumped in the river,
That's
I'll
exactly
know
what
what
happened.
happened. Okay.
Yeah. All right, let's see if I can drop him. Oh, there it is. Continue. Yes. Yeah, there you go. He's on
Oh,
waivers
thank
now.
you.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Considering that he's not coming back until next season.
Yeah, it's not a keeper league,
He
so
had to
you're
decide to because he decided to tear his other knee up on another non-contact injury.
that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate for the player. I mean, I don't care about your
Yeah.
team, but that's really unfortunate for
Hey,
Acuna.
I mean, the only thing this is the positive about this that you did is that I have a free IL spot.
Yeah, you can move Kerry Carpenter, it looks like. So good for you.
Yep.
But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of good big name players, which is the opposite of what my team looks like. It's usually a bunch of no names. Let's see your pitching staff. Yeah, Andrew Abbott is struggling. Zach Wheeler. I had so much confidence in Zach Wheeler. If things were different, he'd probably be on my team. Kevin Gossman
Hmm.
looking like he's turning things around. Mitch
He had
Keller
the
holding his
complete game over
own.
the weekend.
Oh, okay. Kyle Bradish looks like he's healthy. Gavin
Yeah,
Stone is pitching up to
I just
potential.
picked them up, so I don't know. I
Doval.
literally just picked them up, so we'll see.
Well, Doval's getting lit up. Griffin Jacks, he's the guy who's getting you hold. Same thing with Cano. And your pitching staff's a little. Oh, John Gray is back. But your pitching staff is lacking a little bit of depth, just a bit. So yeah,
Yeah,
pitching looks strong. And if your offense could ever get it together, because these are some big names,
yeah.
uh,
If
we
any of
might be
these
in
dudes can
trouble.
actually do something, yeah.
Yeah, we might be in
I'm just
trouble as a
thinking
league.
like it. Yeah, I don't try to toot my own horn, but I'm like, man, if any of these dudes can actually like really light it up and do it for more than just a couple weeks at a time,
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah.
And I'm already losing 7-0 to Rahil's team. So that's how my season's going. I mean, I've crawled from much bigger ditches in this, and I am the back-to-back champion. But here's my crappy ass team. It's not
You're
too bad.
losing to uh Calcutta Wallach to was
Kakalabata.
it
Kakalabata.
but the joke was from Calcutta to Walla Walla
Oh, Calcutta, it's a Calcutta to Walla
to
Walla.
Walla Walla.
It's Raheel.
So he
So yeah, my offense, they're doing much better, but it's a bunch of no names. I just picked up Nick Senzel. I have no outfield. It's Mookie Betts and
yeah.
two other guys. That's all I have. JJ Bleday already hitting 208, so his hot streak's coming to an end. But my infield
Mhm.
is where it's at. I mean, with Simeon, Pasquantino, Jordan Westberg, Bryce Terang. I'm just waiting to cut
Yeah.
him, and every time I wait to cut him, he just
The
keeps producing for me.
Pasquantino and Westberg ones are like the those are the ones that I really like a lot.
Oh
I
well,
also like Pasquantino because I went to high school with him.
that's right. You keep yeah. If you
Really, he's a really genuine dude.
yeah, let's
He
see.
didn't steal bases to save his life, but that's okay. You
We
don't
don't
need
want
your
him to
first
do that.
base. You don't need your towering first baseman to try to run to second.
So I'm trying to play the hot bats here, Nick Gonzalez, who yeah, he's not lo much long for this world on my team. But then I have no depth. Josh Lowe has underwhelmed since coming back from injury. Jaden Martinez has
Mhm.
been pretty, I guess, average. Byron Buxton, I thought, yes, I got one on these guys. Oh, they're screwed now. There's a big name. Uh, yeah, 146 on batting average with a 222 on base percentage. Colt Keith, I drafted him and then I cut him and then I picked him up again and he's struggling again, of course, because now he's on my team again and he's struggling. Evan
You're
Carter
probably gonna have to cut him
has
again.
and Evan Carter has Heinrich Candelario. These are desperate moves here on my part. I cut Anthony Rizzo to get Heinrich Candelario. The pitching, well, I would say it's good, but I mean, right off the bat, Taj Bradley, he has a good matchup against the Cubs, so I'm gonna see if I can exploit that this week. But Luis Castillo,
He
Tyler
had the
Glasnow,
strikeouts against the Orioles, but the what was it that
it, he up a home run. I
the
know that much.
yeah the was that the game? No, that wasn't the game that Rush made the Grand Slam. That was a different game. But yeah, he's Pass Bradley good, but
He gets the strikeouts. That's all I'm looking for.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm like I don't know what else to say.
I like my pitching rotation. And I went all out to get a really good rotation because I thought, we looked at the numbers. That pitching was so bad. It was very imperative to pay a high premium for pitchers this year because hitting with these new rules is just gonna blow up. Boy, were we wrong. Remember I think it was you, we had that conversation. Wow, last year pitching was so awful. And you even asked me,
Oh yeah, yeah.
was there anything that pitching did good last year?
I mean, other than strikeouts, probably not.
Yeah, right. But I like this rotation with Luis Castillo, Tyler Glasnow, Tariq Skubal, Jesus Luzardo. I just picked up Hunter Brown. It looks like he's finally pitching up to his high
I
expectations.
thought
Oh,
about picking him up, but I was like,
he's the bench
maybe just hold off.
the best.
Yeah.
He was the best of the bunch. I'm telling you that right now. I had room because Ryan Weathers went to the IL. So just when
Mhm.
things were turning around for Ryan Weathers, and I had recommended him early on this season as a deep waiver wire pickup. And
Mhm.
he's finally pitching up to par and he's hurt. Zach Little, I don't know why I still have him on the team. I I, I never start him. Well, and when I do, I'm always disappointed in him. So, but the bullpen is where it was my bread and butter. Paul Sewell, Andres Munoz, Jeff Hoffman getting this holds. Bench Mason Miller because he's been struggling of late, and he's already blown saves. So
Mhm.
I'll see if he can right the ship. I had a feeling that his two pitch combination was not long for this world. Um, and he's just always been inconsistent throughout his career.
Mason Miller, the pride of Gardner Webb University.
Oh, look at you. Look at you. You just know you're just like I know what school he went to. He went to this high school and
Hey, I
this
know that
college.
you don't really watch anything college other than women's basketball.
If
I mean,
that, yeah, if that.
and I know that. And I know you said you watched what was it like you watched the college basketball men's basketball game and you felt like you couldn't really watch it.
Oh, it
Man,
was awful.
like I'm not trying to like convince you to be like a fan or anything, but man, like to from like especially from a these are some of the guys of the future of whatever particular league. If you can find a way to watch a couple minutes just to see what certain guys are doing,
No, you know why I can't do it? Yeah, let me tell you. Here, hold on. I can't do it, bro. It's aluminum bats. They need to go. They need to get the hell out, man. I can't do it. Anyway, there's your playoff bracket. So it looks like Melvin will be facing Bob if the season were to end today. Austin sneaks into the playoffs, and he'll face Carlos. So these two
God,
guys are
Carlos, that's messed up.
yeah. Well, these two, Austin and Carlos, are perennial contenders. Melvin
Hmm.
is so up and down. He gets off to really good starts and then he just flutters at the end. And then Bob is kind of trying to bounce back from like two very awful seasons in this league.
I think
And
he took my advice about the basketball thing, um, to not spend time trying to trade for people all the time, just live off of waivers. Because he traded with me 4 times in basketball,
didn't
and
work.
I benefited from yeah, and I benefited from every single trade, and that was why at one point I was almost potentially going to sneak into the fourth spot
Hmm.
instead of being like 10th all year. I, sorry, Bob, I finessed you.
And on that note, it's a good place to stop. Thank you so much for joining. I know it was kind of last minute, but thanks for letting me know who your players that you were looking at and yeah, accommodating me. I know we were supposed to go on yesterday, but
Yeah, of
circumstances out of my
course.
control came aboard, and you were able to accommodate me for tonight. Any last words from you before I let you go, Alex?
Um, hopefully these prospects actually live up to something. I know the couple ones at the end that we talked about were more of like the red flag-ish kind of
Yeah.
guys.
Hmm.
Um, hopefully the Reds can get the best out of those two guys we mentioned. Was it Allen and Collier?
Yeah.
Hoping that they can do something because oh, I have a weird soft spot for the Reds, even though I don't really like them that much.
Yeah.
I
Same.
just have a
Yeah.
soft spot for them. Like they're always that team that you can just kind of feel like, oh, like I could root for them for a little bit,
Yeah, they
you
always have
know?
interesting players, interesting prospects. I go as far back as Jay Bruce, Joey Votto. I remember Joey Votto when he was
Yeah,
a
Jay
prospect
Bruce
coming
was
up.
supposed to be
Oh boy,
like
yeah.
the or like one of the best power hitters of all time,
Oh
and
yeah.
what killed him was a little bit of the fielding and
Strikeouts.
yeah, the strikeouts because he had
He just left.
almost too high of a fly ball rate. Like he just swung up at everything.
And left-handed too.
And
That'll kill you, like I always say. Can't trust
hey,
those left-handed hitters.
I was a left-handed hitter that could hit the ball all across the field, bro.
You-
Too bad it never made it anywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other players. Austin Kearns, Adam Dunn. They've always had interesting players.
Adam Dunn was another guy's like the power potential. I mean, granted, he did hit over 40 home runs like 6 years in a row, but
Yeah.
geez,
Yeah.
like that dude was a mammoth of a power hitter. Same issue.
Trying to
Couldn't do
think.
anything but hit home runs.
Yeah, and this batch of prospects of theirs with is also pretty impressive. And trying to even the ones from the previous tenure with Nick Senzel, he was an interesting player to look at.
Mhm.
Jonathan India, Senzel was
Yeah,
crushing the minors, and we even took a look back at his numbers a while back
I
ago.
liked Jonathan India when he first came up.
Yeah,
Also
he was
when
injury
he was in
prone back
college.
then too, by the way.
Yeah, but and I don't know, just he hasn't turned out to be what many thought he would be.
Yeah, the
As
injuries are
far as
just
like,
taking a
yeah,
toll.
and that's what's keeping him from ever reaching his max. Like he's definitely way nat like raw talent, way better than where he is, and you just so frustrated with the fact that he can't ever just consistently be out there. Because we all know, even in other sports, the best ability is availability. Like in
That's
basketball, it doesn't matter
that's right,
if
Eric
you score
Mangini.
30 points a game if you're only out there for 40 games. No one's going to care that much because you're never there.
And on that note, I bid you a good night. Thank you guys for listening. This has been the Total Basis Podcast. I just realized it's been a long time. We didn't even get a chance to talk about it because we were rolling with these 10 prospects we just listed here. But yeah, we had not you and I, but the podcast itself. We went shoot, almost an entire month without an episode, and yeah, it just got kind of hectic on my end, and yeah, just it's kind of bewildering that we didn't get a podcast up, but I'm glad that we were able to get this one in, especially
Yeah,
with the hitters in the minor leagues,
yeah.
because that's always an important
And I was
thing I
just
look forward
glad to
to.
be able to try to get in on another episode in general. It didn't have to even be this topic, but
Hmm.
I was just, like I mentioned to you recently, going through a new thing with work, so
Yeah.
didn't know really when, but I was definitely itching to kind of get back in on the show and
Well, I'm glad you made it,
talk
man.
it up more.
Big props to you for making it. Thank you so much for joining in, and for everybody else,
Yeah,
I
of
bid
course.
everybody else a good
Thank you
night.
for having me on.
Have a
Have
good
a good
one,
night, Felipe.
Have a good one, everybody.